Tonight's presenters and everyone join us in person and via live stream. Thank you for being here. We will have Henry Lagus lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Henry. All of our board members are present, and there are a few addendum materials: the fall athletics schedule, policies for first reading, parent guardian universal consent form. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addenda. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the agenda as presented with the amendments.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. We'll now accept public comment, and there is one request. So we'll begin with Gray Broadhead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hands off my mic.
Maybe scoot a little.
You can pull it toward you. It's not attached.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping I would be saved until the end. It looks like there are some celebratory moments for today, so I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but I do appreciate your time. So you can start my time if that's fine. It has been a difficult decision to speak out in response to the policy proposal relating to name usage and gender identifiers. It feels a bit like an exercise in futility right now, but I really feel like I have no choice at this moment. It would be difficult to live with my conscience if I did not provide a voice for our students, who, like me, may be considered gender fluid. I have personally been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Based on today's common terminology, I'm commonly referred to as a transgender woman. I personally don't like that word because I was raised thinking that people like me were referred to as an even uglier term, transsexual. I certainly did not identify with those stereotypes. Although terminology and perceptions have improved a bit, the harm that is caused through bias and stigmatization has not ceased for a misunderstood minority population. I need to be assured that as an educator who lives by the Educator's Code of Ethics, we are doing everything within our power to ensure that each and every student is able to feel valued, included, and dignified in their schools. I want to believe that our schools would take steps to serve in the best interest of all students. It was this school district that hired me 10 years ago. Generally, the administration and staff made an admirable effort to treat me as nothing less than a valued member of their team. I also faced some scrutiny and criticism when I began teaching in the classroom. By some, I was considered to be an inappropriate role model for students or children. For 10 years, I quietly worked to overcome the skepticism that came with being me. I have worked to prove that I am equally appropriate to be in a classroom as any other person who has worked to develop the skills and qualifications to teach. I'm highly qualified. I recognize that I look weird. Daily reminders have led me to accept that. I shouldn't have to. Our children should no longer have to grow up feeling that their truth is worthless, deviant, or in any way wrong. How can adults impose their own biases on children through law and policy? When prejudice and discrimination are written into the law, the doors open for those with fervent hatred and ignorance to justify the means by which to carry out their own forms of justice. 11 years ago, the school district committed to a nationally and globally recognized community leadership program to overcome prejudicial harm that comes from intentional and unintentional bias. I started working as a teacher proud of the district I was working for, proud to be a teacher who could represent a minute population that deserves to feel inspired and valued, that they too can one day be happy, contributing members of their community. Recent law and policy are taking steps backward from that commitment we once promised. We are taking back our promise to protect a vulnerable group of children, a promise of acceptance to a threat of rejection.
Thank you so much for your comments. We really appreciate you.
How are folks like me supposed to come to terms with this?
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve the July board meeting minutes as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the July minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes authorizing payment of claims, approving supplemental financial information, approving the human resource activity, and out-of-state overnight travel requests as presented. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that you approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Next on the agenda are the self-explanatory reports, which include Idaho General Fund Revenue Report, final food summary, summer meal program report, and surplus property auction results. Is there, we don't need to approve those. Next on the agenda is awards and recognitions, which will be provided by Courtney Fisher.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, trustees, Dr. Howell, and Ms. Johnson. Tonight, we will recognize several individuals who, through their actions, support and embody our district's mission to think more, learn more, and be more together. It is my pleasure to welcome Aaron Villano, Jacob Torres, and Layla Guthrie to the podium with me, as well as Ms. Tanya Wilkes, joining us today from Advantage Plus Federal Credit Union. Thanks so much for being here. These gentlemen are presenting funds this evening to support District 25 athletic programs, including $35,000 to benefit Century High School, $17,500 to benefit Highland High School, and $5,000 each for Alameda, Franklin, Hawthorne, and Irving Middle Schools, totaling $72,500. We are so appreciative, and we thank you to the entire Advantage Plus team for their continued support of education in our community, their efforts to help lead us to be more together. Thank you so much, and if you will.
That's when we were founded. Advantage Plus. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank
It's probably because the other ones have already gotten some. I'm not sure.
I would be remiss if I didn't also include Tanya Wilkes for all of her efforts to try to generate support for our schools in terms of these sponsorships. Thank you all so much. Okay, tonight we also have the privilege of recognizing two outstanding individuals from our transportation team who exemplify dedication, professionalism, and commitment to our learners' safety and well-being. Will Kelly Dial and Kelby Flowers please join me at the podium? And we'll have you guys kind of stand. Don't hide behind the podium. First, I'd like to introduce you to Kelly Dial, our Transportation Department Coordinator, who has been a cornerstone of our team for 35 years. Kelly's leadership and unwavering dedication have made a significant impact on our department and the entire district. I'm also pleased to introduce you to Mr. Kelby Flowers, a school bus driver who has consistently gone above and beyond in his 4 years with School District 25. Kelby is known for his exceptional work ethic, positive attitude, and commitment to providing safe and caring transportation for our learners. Both Kelly and Kelby, I'm going to try to get this right every time, are true assets to our district, and we are honored to recognize them as they were recently honored by the Idaho Association of Pupil Transportation, IAPT, as Supervisor of the Year for Kelly and School Bus Driver of the Year awards, respectively. I mean, two of the biggest awards in the state. Right here in our district, we are so proud. They were both nominated for these awards by their colleagues, Jeffrey Corrington and Samantha Steed, who I'm going to invite to come up to the side of Dr. Howell. The IAPT is a professional organization dedicated to supporting and promoting safe, efficient, and effective transportation services across the state of Idaho. They have an annual convention, and they take these annual nominations. So according to the nomination, Kelly started as a dispatcher, moved up to transportation supervisor, and now leads as the department coordinator. She is known for her hard work, dedication, and leadership. She handles everything from staffing and training to budgeting and purchasing buses, always ensuring our learners' safety. In our department, we emphasize values like consistency, courage, humility, integrity, kindness, determination, inspire, unity, and passion. Kelly not only exemplifies these in her work, but also in her personal life. The phrase, "you matter," is displayed outside her office, reflecting her commitment to make everyone feeling valued. Kelly has led our team through significant changes, always with a positive attitude and confidence in her team. She inspires us to be our best, and her leadership has been crucial to our success. When asked about Kelly, the most common sentiment is that she makes people feel important, that I matter. This speaks volumes about her impact as a leader. Thank you so much, Kelly. Kelby has been a dedicated bus driver for our district for 4 years, following a career at J.R. Simplot Company. Kelby has logged thousands of safe driving miles and is known for his excellent attendance, often the first to arrive and the last to leave. He consistently goes above and beyond, helping other drivers with tasks like cleaning mirrors, shoveling snow, and organizing paperwork, all those tasks that everybody jumps at, right? Always willing and never asked. Kelby has successfully driven regular routes, preschool routes, and various trips, always prioritizing the safety and security of his passengers. He maintains a high standard of discipline on his bus and has built positive relationships with learners, staff, and the community. Kelby is the kind of employee everyone enjoys being around. His friendliness, courtesy, and positivity make him a valued team member. He takes pride in his work and is a model bus driver who sets an example for others to follow. So please join me in wholeheartedly congratulating Kelly and Kelby, as they are both exemplify the qualities we value in our transportation team members and are truly deserving of this recognition. Thank you so much. That concludes our recognitions tonight. I want to thank all of our families who also came to celebrate these recognitions with us this evening. And we'll have a photo op outside if you guys will join us out there.
Should we swap community relations with curriculum? 'Cause Okay, next we'll move on, oh. Oh, wow.
She looks like Meryl Streep,
Oh,
a movie star.
oh. Oh, well, thank you. That was fine. Okay, so, do you want to move to curriculum first, or did you want to take pictures, Courtney? Okay, so we'll go ahead and Courtney do a community relations update. I just didn't know if you
Most
wanted
of
to be
my-
involved in the pictures.
No, Tammy's got it handled for me, thank you. So most of the report in your board packet is self-explanatory, but I did want to draw your attention to page 4, which is our attendance campaign.
What
So I've
number?
been working really closely with Tanya Wilkes and Raina Patterson. They attended a conference this summer, and they came back so energized about everything they learned about attendance campaigns. As you know, we did an Everyday Matters attendance campaign last year, and it was great. It moved the dial, but for them, it didn't move the dial enough. Even though we didn't slide backwards, we definitely are creeping forward. They felt like there were more based on data and everything that we can really dive into to really move the dial on our attendance numbers. And so working with them, we've come up with the second tier of this campaign, which is a 3-year campaign. So we're rolling this out with messaging this year. And I have for you one of our magnets. So these magnets are being distributed at back to school nights at elementary schools and middle schools. And also, because there wasn't a really great opportunity to get them in the hands of parents for high school learners, we decided to mail them home because we thought if we gave this out at registration, it might just end up in a backpack and never to the parents. So we did the cost, and it was 21 cents to mail them home and get them directly into the hands of parents. So those started going out today. So those should be in. And the feedback we've heard on these magnets, they will go on a fridge, or I have one hanging on my cabinet in my office. It has the district calendar on there with all the dates. It's really small, but you can still read it. We wanted to make sure that it was a useful tool as well. And then we just have some reminders and a tracking system for parents to say, we really want to encourage people. The research shows that learners who miss less than 2 days a month tend to do better in school. And so that's the message that we're trying to convey. We will convey that all year long with our messaging. We've got this poster that we are hanging up, and it's just really dynamic, and it made me, we spent a lot of iterations to get this right, and make sure that it was something that was inspiring and made people feel, this would make me feel like being at school. Sunrise and everybody headed on to school. So the tagline is on time, in school every day. You will see that messaging very frequently. We're going to be providing blurbs for school newsletters. I've already seen some come out in Highland's newsletter and Pokey's newsletter today, back to school, so that everybody's on the same page with this. In conjunction with the magnet, we also sent a flyer home that will be mailed with these, and then it was in the back to school packets, or however schools are distributing the magnet. There is an accompanying piece that really talks about the research and why behind having kids in school and the impact that has on learning every day. So on time, in school, every day. I'm going to get that right one of these days, Tanya. And then in your packet, like always, we have the headlines of interest. Mr. Knopf, I'm not sure what happened with those links in the original, but we re-uploaded it, and the links seem to be working fine.
Yeah, I
So
just tried a
hopefully-
link and it worked.
Okay,
Thank you.
Perfect. So thank you. Don't ever hesitate to let me know when those things, those kinds of issues come up, because we definitely want this to be a useful tool for you to track all the great media and the pertinent stories across the state and the nation when it comes to education. So I'm going to make sure you have one of these, and then that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll
Thank
move
you.
on to the curriculum. Amy Bowie. I will get one. I will get. I just did one voice.
Good evening. I have the opportunity to report on a few things that took place before school started that are all very exciting and we're really proud of. The first one is the Building Leadership Team Day, which took place on August 12th. And those took place in every building. And we, as a team of directors and district office team, we gave them a tentative agenda with some ideas of things that they could focus on. But the really cool part of Building Leadership Team Day is that the principal gets to take all of that, and with their building leaders, they evaluate and assess themselves. Where are we at? Where are we going? What are our next steps? That's the same as our learners. And it was fun to watch them individualize the focus for this year, which is visible learning. It was fun to watch them have really rich discussions. I was able to go to Alameda, Tendoy, and Highland, but as directors and coordinators, we went out to all the different buildings to listen to them have conversations about how they can improve. So really the goal was to provide a little bit of professional development and visible learning to self-assess and make goals make goals and then they looked at their own data from their building, extensive data from their building on all sorts of engagement surveys and ISAT scores and IRI scores and AP scores and really evaluate where they were as a school, make goals, and then develop their continuous improvement plans. And the feedback we've gotten from them, so it's only been the last couple of years that we've had them do it in their own building. We used to meet all together and then break out, have each building leadership team go to a different room. They've really enjoyed the autonomy of doing it in their own building and planning their own day. And those principals put a lot of time and effort into making those days meaningful for their building. So that's probably something that you should be aware of. The next thing is new teacher orientation. And we had about 48 new staff members, all in this room to start with. 48 certified staff, 41 of them were teachers. And that opening morning, Dr. Howell welcomed them, and he gave a presentation on teacher credibility and building relationships. And he's so good at inspiring and engaging and focusing on the things that matter. He really is so good. And he doesn't even know this, but we always send surveys out at the end of the week and ask what the new teachers enjoyed about New Teacher Week. And there were many people who commented how great it was to be able to meet the superintendent and to hear from him directly, and that his words, and they were quoting things from his presentation about Disney, and it was really cool. I'll share those with you. We've had a busy week, especially a busy week when we're troubleshooting so much. But there were really good comments about him taking the time with them. And so then I presented on joy and instructional strategies and what else? Oh, and then moving forward into visible learning. And then they broke out into their coaches. And so we have elementary coaches and we have secondary coaches, and they worked on classroom management, instructional strategies. They got to meet their mentors. And, technology. They also got to meet with our instructional technology coaches, which was really valuable for them. This is what I'm going to tell you. Not only do the surveys come back stellar of how meaningful, because we tell them we really, really want those 4 days to be as meaningful as possible. So please give us feedback. Tell us what worked, what you didn't need, what you needed more of. And so they give us some good feedback, and we tweak it every year. But all in all, and I wasn't surprised to see this on the surveys, because they'll come right up to me and they'll say, we've been in other districts, we've been in many districts, and we have never been onboarded with this type of an orientation, and we feel so prepared and we feel so welcomed, and it's the response is overwhelming. So that's not kudos to me, that's kudos to our coaches, and in fact Cassie Atwood, who did a ton of planning for this in her new position. You should know it was a huge success, and that if you get feedback from new teachers, don't be surprised when it's really, really good. And then professional development, so then the third thing I need to talk to you about happened this past week, and it was on the 16th. We had cross-district PLCs and unit rollouts. So the 16th is a crazy day. I'm happy at the end of that day, because we organize a way for all content areas and all grade levels to meet together across the district and talk about things that are important and relevant to what they're teaching, their standards, and their content area. And that's not an easy task, because there are a lot of them. And so to try to make that time meaningful, but I really feel every year we make progress in making that time meaningful. And our coaches and lead in secondary, we don't have enough coaches to spread out and go to middle school science, middle school social studies, high school math. We don't have enough. So we rely on teacher leaders that we contact over the summer and ask them if they'll facilitate these conversations. And again, the feedback we got from them was, thank you so much for this time that we have. And we guide it with this, the state has done some work on some essential standards. So those came out August 15th. And they met August 16th. So we sent them their essential standards to start having discussions on. And I think the big takeaway for the board on that day would be that we have teachers who are really fully committed to making sure they know what learners need to know and be able to do, and that they collaborate cross-district. New teachers will comment on that too. And even teachers, I had a teacher who had been at one building teaching one content area and had changed content areas and had the opportunity to go listen to some experts from some other buildings who had taught those content areas, and it was just a really valuable day. So I just have all good news today, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. And that's great, thank you. Next, AJ Watson will provide an elementary enrollment and staffing update. And Sue Pettit.
Sue's
will
up
do
here
the
as well. We figured we
secondary.
would come
We'll
up here
just
as
do
well,
the-
elementary and
everybody.
secondary. They will be quick. We just wanted, well, good evening, board members. We wanted to provide you with some preliminary enrollment numbers for this school year, knowing that things change very quickly from day to day this time of year. And we, even as we were leaving or finishing up at 5 o'clock, there were still registrations rolling in and transfer requests. So we'll give you some numbers, but no, these will change over the next week or so before we really have more solid numbers. In the elementary, overall, we have a total of 4,833 students that are registered. Compared to last year on the same date, that's down about 100, it's down exactly 101 students from last year at this date. So down a little bit in terms of enrollment. That number will go up, but compared to, we'll see where we end up compared to last year at the same time. In kindergarten, we were up 12 learners from last year in our kindergarten numbers, so pretty close to where we were at in kindergarten. And overall, our grade levels, the other grade levels remain, fairly consistent from year to year moving forward. But just
And remind me, we don't have any part-time kindergarten. I know
we do not.
had one
Parents
last
can
year.
choose if they want to send their
But they
learners
have-
part-time, but all of our classes are full-time kindergarten classrooms. If parents want to opt for a half-day or a part-day kindergarten, they can. We usually end up with maybe 5, 10 max, and by the time the end of the year, we're under 5 because they've decided to go
To
full-time.
stay for the whole day. Okay,
Yes,
that's what I thought.
correct. Any other questions with elementary enrollment?
I do, on the Indian Hills, I noticed that's the only
Yes,
school that has
thank you.
any overload.
Overloads. It
But I'm
is.
wondering, does that have to do with the reduction in staff?
It does.
Because there was not as many
Correct. There's not as
there
many teachers.
last?
We reduced
Okay.
teachers
So
out at
since you
Indian
reduced the
Hills and-
staff, that would account for that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they did have a bigger we wouldn't have guessed. They had a bigger kindergarten class than they've had in the last few years. And so their class size is much larger than we even anticipated. So those were the major overloads. They also were overloading in second grade, and that was due to reductions as well. But most of those learners, one chose to stay that was overloaded, and the other ones we were able to get back in prior to the start of school because of transfers out and people saying they're not coming back.
Oh, good. So just curious, where will those 5 go?
They're going to Washington
Washington?
Elementary.
Okay, thank you.
So secondary numbers, and I don't know when it was pulled for you guys, but I pulled it 2 days ago, and numbers again. Right now, we're at 6,794 students. It's down about 91 total, but I can tell you we've enrolled 28 kids in the last 2 days. So it seems the registrars are calling today, and everybody waited until today to come in and register for school. So we'll see how those turn out. Again, we're down about 91 total for secondary. Some schools up, some schools down. Most of them.
What's the spread just between the 3 high schools?
Between the 3 high schools, Century has 1,129, Highland has 1,504, and Pokey has 1,333 as of 5 o'clock tonight. But
Okay.
I know that they were still enrolling kids
Mm-hmm.
as I was going through it, so.
Do you mind sending us like the enrollment versus capacity, just through, do you have that already? Just
Sure.
through email or something?
Sure.
For all of it, just so we can kind of get
We don't have that.
an idea. Well, it's on the website, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, so I guess if you sent a link that directs us to, I can't find.
You're good. And I can tell you, Highlands capacity is 1,500, so they're a little bit over. Pokey's is 1,300, they're a little bit over. Century's is 1,250, 1,200. and they're a little bit under. So, and the middle schools, right now, Irving and Franklin are exploding, and Hawthorne and Alameda are holding their own.
So I know we had bounced the idea of redoing boundaries, but obviously that's not happening by tomorrow.
That is correct.
I mean, so what, do we have a plan, or are we thinking about that?
We are thinking about that, and I think AJ gets to.
Am I opening a can of worms?
No, you are not. We're in the
No, we've
process of
already- we've
putting
already-
together,
I mean,
we've already
yeah.
discussed this, putting
Yeah.
together committees and taking a look at this year, and we'll be
Okay.
including individuals in that process, and just starting, we wanted to get school started, and then we will be looking at those boundaries and having
Okay.
much
So how are you
more in
doing
terms of
committees?
discussions.
Oh, sorry. How are you doing committees?
We haven't even planned like
Oh.
the specifics for how the committees will be formed. I've started with some principles to just kind of outline what we would be looking at. There, I have a principal committee. They won't be making the decisions, but what are the factors we need to consider in this, and who do we need to consider in these decisions? And then it will get, starting at that level, and then it will get much larger as we expand this out and get direction from the school board as well in terms of where we want to go with this, and what we want to look at, and who that would directly involve. But we are starting the discussion in the process, so we can take a look at all of the factors that may be in play and that we want to consider with these boundaries, because
I
as
just
we
know
look at
in my
numbers.
zone, there's been those concerns.
Right.
And so it's, want to make sure we keep it in the air as something to deal with.
And then I know it's hard and painful, but across the country, elementary schools are having to downsize. People aren't having as many kids. And Pocatello isn't growing. We are not growing at the same rate as, obviously, as kids are being born or in schools. Or there are a lot of factors. And also the other choices that kids have, too. Charter schools and, anyway. So it's hard decisions, but I guess it's across the
Things we
country.
need to look at and
We're
start
the same.
considering
Yeah.
options.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Tanya Wilkes will present the fall athletic schedules and travel requests.
So I think those are presented in front of you. You have a lot of schedules there: volleyball, football, cross country, soccer, boys and girls, and golf. We are in a different conference as of this year. So Pocatello High School and Century High School are now in 5A, and Highland High School is in 6A, which caused some complications in scheduling and so forth with football and volleyball. Preston had petitioned to go down in volleyball and softball, and they granted that. So now we're in a 2-school conference for volleyball and softball.
Just with ourselves.
Century and Pokey, yes. So these are causing quite a few conflicts with scheduling purposes, especially when you have Highland High School coming off a state championship. Nobody that is under 6A wants to necessarily compete against us, and so that causes some complications. I went to an IHSAA meeting today and asked to be on the committee for expansion so that we can look to see that, even if typically we have maybe the top 1 or 2 teams, but only one gets to go to state, but looking at maybe having equitable representation at state with our given areas of, our region only having those 2 to 3 schools in that conference.
Yeah,
So,
do you, I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
It's okay.
I was gonna say, so 6A is a new category, right?
Correct. We've never had 6A. 5A used to be the biggest category. So what they did was recategorize the numbers. And if they would have stayed the same, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, then Pokey actually would have went up to 5A. But with the new numbers, Highland will be 6A, and then Pokey and Century will be 5A.
I guess as far as Highland, that's probably the same group of schools, probably mostly. Is that right? That probably didn't change there.
It did in the Boise Valley quite a bit.
Okay.
And so what it did was it allowed them to not have to go out of their area. They have enough in the 6A category to not have to play outside of the Boise area, which is really hard on us. We need to have some conference games because in order to get an 9-game schedule, we only have 5 schools in this area, 6A, so it's really hard to pick up those schedules.
Mr. Oaks, will you also talk a little
I
bit
don't
about Max
understand
Preps and how that works for the board?
Yeah. So Max Preps is a program that after each event, they report their score and who they played. And depending on the score and who their opponent is, where you actually line up in Max Preps as the state. So typically, I'll give you an example. Boys basketball last year, Pocatello High School, Preston High School, and Century High School were in the top 5. And we only got to take one to state because of our conference. Does that make sense?
And
And
how
so
is
the-
that determined? How is
Max
that
Preps?
one?
It's
But it's
determined by area and region for representation. So if we have 3 schools, they look at a percentage of what representation. So like if in the Idaho Falls area, they have 5 schools, that would be 1.5 to 2 teams get to go. With only 3 schools, we only have a percentage of representation, which is 1 out of the 3, which is the same percentage as 1.5 out of the 5. Does that
And
make
it's
sense?
based on their record, their win-loss record.
Max Preps helps with identifying the top schools in the state, which makes it more glaring that we're not taking the top schools to the state competition.
Is that changing this year?
They're putting a committee together, and I'm asked to be part of that committee. So no, it isn't changing this year. I'm hoping in the future. Right now, we're in a 2-year locked schedule, right? And I know that we're taking numbers this year for that will be locked in a classification for the 2 years. So I'm hoping that we can move the ball running and that we look past always doing it the way we always done it. And typically in the past, we've been part of the District 6, which is Idaho Falls area. So then if we go and be a part of that, we take our 1 birthright to state with us. And so now we get 3 out of the area. Well, they don't necessarily want us to come join them because we usually take the 3, right? So they're not excited about having us in their conference. We've been in District 4 conference, which is the Twin Falls area, which has 8 teams, which is awesome for scheduling. But we have to travel to Sun Valley, you have to travel to Mountain Home, and again, they chose not to have us a part of that. So it's up to them, rather they allow us in. And so we've kind of bounced all over the place, and we're kind of been in this position in the past, and we're hoping that we can at least get some opportunities to represent the top teams at state competition.
Interesting.
So the goal with Max Prep is to make it so it's more like statewide seeded instead of District 1.
So that's your
Not
goal?
the true top.
Is that
Correct.
your
So-
goal, instead of area representation, statewide?
I think what we're hoping for is a combination, right? You take your district championship, but then that second might be another playoff game, rather than you only get 1.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Any more questions about the schedule? I know you have a list of the middle school schedules. We stay in town. We make sure that we give them as many opportunities to compete. That's just that first real step of school. And as far as the state tournaments and sites, you have that as well listed in there.
Okay, I would entertain, is that
Yep.
everything?
Good.
I would entertain a motion to approve the fall athletic schedules inclusive of secondary travel requests, which is in the attachments. And for athletic, state, and national competitions and college and university tours. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the athletic schedule and annual travel request is presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Next is Human Resources, presented by Brenda, who will report on hiring update, hiring reverts back to Board of Trustees, annual employee policy review, and proposed district leadership stipends.
Good evening, Board. Well, tomorrow's the day. We've been telling you about all the teachers we've hired and all of those things, and I think we're ready to go. So, for example, I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a breakdown and kind of give you an idea of where we were. So for this school year, we hired 14 elementary teachers. In comparison to last year, we had 26 elementary that we hired. And so including in those 14 elementary were 4 sped teachers and 1 elementary counselor. In middle school, we were 12 teachers, and last year was 17, and of those, 4 of those were special education as well. And then in our high school, we hired 20 teachers. Last year, we hired 17, and of those, 6 of them were sped. So if you think about that, we hired 14 new sped teachers. The ability to hire 14 sped teachers is amazing. So kudos to Janelle, kudos to the PAC program for giving us some great teachers. I'm super excited. I just feel so blessed that we were able to get that going with our district, thanks to the board approving that. And we've been able to hire some of those students. They're still doing their student teaching, a couple of them, but again, one of the rules with special education, it's a little more stringent than it is with anyone else. And so special education teachers have to be able to finish their degree within the term of the school year, whereas in an alternate assessment for some of the other teachers, they have up to 3 years. So we have a few of those people from our PAC program that were close enough, and we were able to hire 3 of them. So that's pretty exciting. That being said, we also hired 1 nurse, 2 psychologists, and 1 SLP. So a total this year of 50, and last year about 64. So just to kind of give you.
So the SPED teachers that you were able to hire had to do with the Medicaid billing, right? So that $3 million.
Absolutely.
Did that all go to staffing for SPED? For news?
I'm going to kind of return that. I'm not sure the exact dollars amounts. I feel like I deal with numbers, but not for sure.
So it is very close. The majority of it did go to staffing.
Okay.
But it did also pick up some purchase services.
Oh, okay.
Some occupational therapy, physical therapy.
Oh, okay.
Physical therapy and so forth.
Oh,
So,
okay. thank you.
And we do still have
So
some,
great that you did that.
Absolutely.
it was impressive,
I was
for
able
sure.
to do that.
And I know, just speaking to this past week, I know that we've had a lot of new special education students arrive prior to the year starting as well. So all of those positions being able to be filled. We're still short on some
I was
paraprofessionals.
going to ask.
But again, we've hired quite a few. I think I told you at the last meeting that when we had our job fair, we had over 60-some people, 68, I think it was. And the year before, I think we had 18 that came to the job fair, and we have hired from the job fair. Just to give you an example, in some of the other, we've hired 7 more food service people, and we need about 5 more that would really help us be fully staffed. We've hired 10 bus drivers, we've hired bus aides, and I was happy to report that they were feeling pretty good. I mean, there's still, of course, room for some more hires, but we're able to start tomorrow, and it'll be so cool to see all those buses heading out in the morning. That's one of the best days. And then in maintenance, we have 2 custodial positions and 1 electrician, and I know we have some candidates for the custodial position. So I'm feeling pretty good about the start of the school year. Any
How
questions?
about over at PV Tech?
So PV Tech, the only ones that they, one of those things is they didn't replace the welding, but that turned out okay in the sense that the building, those kinds of things. We're able, to hire the construction teacher, and then we also hired the teacher for the CNA program, the part-time.
How about the culinary program?
So the culinary, we haven't hired yet, but that option is still
So
out there.
that culinary teacher is not coming over from Century?
It was Polkdale High School.
Polk- oh,
Yeah,
right, Polk.
right. And not to
The
start.
first try.
We'll
yeah.
look at second try to see where we're at, because the kitchen facility is not completely finished anyway.
Oh, so that's why, why
Well,
the culinary isn't?
partially, yeah. Rhonda was also looking at another candidate who had a very strong background from both the military and commercial kitchens and cruises and so forth, someone who is maybe even more qualified. So we're looking into that possibility as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And our person that we hired for construction has a lot of experience and is really excited about it. So.
Oh, that's great.
That's really good.
Can I ask who that is?
So is the facility ready for construction?
Oh, boy.
For the construction class, you mean? Is
So
that right?
at the beginning, I know that the plan is for him to go over all of the beginning things, like all of the regulations and all the rules and all of those types of things
In the
for
classroom
safety.
setting.
Oh, shit, yeah.
A couple weeks of
Okay, That's
paperwork.
what I thought, is that the first
Anything
part
else,
was
Sue,
in
that
the
you wanna-
classroom, and then they go to the.
Correct. And he was moving into his classroom, so I know that that
Oh,
piece will
okay,
be
so
available.
he's ready to
Mhm.
go.
And this is a new one, right? A new program for us?
Yep,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
and we've never had it before, right?
We had it, 17, 18 years ago. It's been a
Wow.
long time.
Oh, okay.
So, it was actually over at the ITB building where the fire engine
Oh,
was.
Right.
We did have it there for a while. and
oh,
then-
okay, that's great.
Didn't they build homes Weren't they building homes for Habitat for Humanity?
It was before my time, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
I think so,
but-
yes.
They did.
That's what I thought.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
All right,
'Kay.
thank you.
Yep.
Hope he teaches ethics of construction.
I will tell you,
Got experience in
we
that
interviewed a couple different people, and one of them said something about OSHA and can't stand it, and why are we doing safety things, and we shouldn't have to teach this.
Thank you very much.
That was pretty much what we said. Thanks, bye. His first comments when they did the interviews are, we have to teach safety. We have to make sure that they're following the
Permits,
the OSHA requirements, the permitting.
for
We need to
sure,
make
or
sure that
else,
they
I mean,
teach
they
all
won't
of
get their
that,
permits.
not just putting stuff together, so.
No, they won't get
um,
their permits. and
exactly.
So what is the point in not teaching that?
Exactly, so.
Okay.
That was
Do
one
the
of his
job
very
without
first
it.
answers.
That's great.
If they don't get a permit of occupancy, what good is it?
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is just that, if you remember, at the May 21st, we turned over the hiring back over to the superintendent, and so on August 31st, then that reverts back to the board. And I just, like I say, all the numbers that I've told you and where we are as far as our hiring, I feel really good that we were able to get a lot of things accomplished this summer. And again, just getting everybody on and moving forward with their technology and all of the new things, teachers, it's been really nice to be able to streamline that. So thank you so much. The next one deals with the policy review, just kind of an update. I pulled just a little bit of data yesterday. Again, the policy review is due on the 31st, and you see the list of what each person goes over and what each person is assigned. And as of yesterday, everyone had already taken 655 tests. So I know that luckily I was able to get it out a little bit earlier this year, about 2 or 3 weeks. And it's funny, they are chomping at the bit. You wouldn't think so, but the early July, they're ready to start their policy review. And a lot of teachers like to check that off their list before the school year starts. So, and then the last thing for me is the leadership premiums. And if you remember this from last year, there's very little change to it. The only changes in this amount is we did add, again, like you had mentioned about the different teachers that we were hired. 3 of those teachers that were special education teachers are in our special programs. So that number went from 21 to 24 with that $1,000 stipend.
And
then,
where is this stipend coming from? Because I remember the state changed their funding, and so. I
if you remember, then
track.
this no longer is money that is sent from the state. This just comes from the district.
Okay.
And then the only other one is one school psychologist. So it went up 4,000 in benefits
Okay.
is the only difference. Any questions on that?
No. I would
Okay.
propose, and I would entertain a motion to approve the proposed 2024-2025 district leadership stipends as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the proposed 2024-2025 district leadership stipends as presented.
All in favor? I mean,
Second.
is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. So next is Jonathan with the Highland Rebuild, PV Tech update, summer projects update, and supplemental levy discussion and proposed resolution.
And then a few more
Yeah.
on the next page.
Maybe I missed
Sorry.
Deanna, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm looking at this, but I will look at this
There you
too. Let me look. Oh, okay, I see. The 10-year facilities plan, bid awards, Bateman Hall contract amendment. I think I said that.
Okay, thank you. Board, appreciate your time this evening. Just real quick, some informational items again on Highland High School. As Madam Chair just read, again, we'll review some bids for the demo and utilities later on in the meeting. And that work is started with your approval. We'll start the day after Labor Day. And so we want to try and get that demo and all those utilities located as quick as we can. Just wanted to update that we did successfully close on the property across from Highland High School. That temporary parking lot has been completed. We did, I went up there this morning. There's T-posts and some wires, to kind of indicate the different parking stalls. We did attempt for some paint, and it just kind of fluffed away there. So I talked to Travis Bell, one of the assistant principals there, and they will be monitoring that parking lot, making sure that, they're parking there appropriately to max that out. They did go ahead and paint staff parking on the south side. I think that was a request there, and that's good that we did that for the staff.
And are you going to open that first entrance for like a staff-only entrance or something?
So that was discussed, but we haven't done that yet.
And I guess if you did that, and they figured out that they could get to the parking lot from there and it's shorter, in or out, I guess you would probably also have to chain off the staff parking so that once you enter there, you can't just go.
Sure, and we'll still.
I don't know.
As parking has been really a focus for at least the last year to 2 years specifically, we'll do the same with, how it is, those extra spots, how that affects the traffic. Obviously, we'll be concerned. We'll look at painting some crosswalks. That's one thing that has not been done. There's some signing that should be up on Thursday. So we have the parking spots, but we'll keep enhancing those and make it as safe for our staff and students as possible, as well as, do we change some of the entrances there?
And we had talked about, would the city do the parking, the crosswalk? First of all, painting it, but then would they also do one of those lighted ones?
Yeah, and that's what I will visit with them this week as well.
And then what about over by the seminary building where, two?
I think there's a crosswalk there.
There's a crosswalk,
already,
but I mean
not
the lighted?
A lighted sign, yeah.
I don't know.
I'll see if that's the city or something that we can do. I know Brian Glenn has a price on that.
Because I was
already.
wondering if it's the lighted one, it prevents the students from going into the crosswalk until it's their turn, right? So that cars can flow. So if they're not just stopping, they're not just trickling, a constant trickle, and then no cars can go. Is that what that does also?
No, I thought the lighted one was basically just like through that little solar. It would actually
You have
just
it
put some
centered.
lights around the stop.
Oh, that's all it does?
I believe so. I don't think
Okay.
I'm sure there's different options there.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking
in-
of like the one at Century where if there's a pedestrian, you gotta hit the button. No.
Right, and that's what I was thinking, because if there will be a steady flow, and then there'll be this backup all the way down Olympus. If there's people in the crosswalk trickling constantly.
Sure, that has to.
Which we
has to be
haven't
able to
had
stop.
before.
Sure. Okay.
So I wondered about that, the lighted ones that
We'll basically
tell the
stop them.
pedestrians to stop. Basically,
Yeah,
they have
we'll
to
definitely
take their time.
look at all options and kind of watch that really close as well with this kind of.
well, I
new
guess good luck
parking and new-
tomorrow.
Yeah, correct. I think I'm excited. It should be. I think it will be good, and the
I think
administration
more
know
kids will
to
park
kind of.
across the street, don't
Correct.
you?
Yeah,
Isn't
learning
the
it.
accessibility to the school easier?
Yeah, I
Correct.
guess, probably.
What about traffic flow and helping direct kids? Is the
So
staff doing that, or
again, it
who's-
was through the administration, and they will kind of help where they can. I know when we previous discussions with the city, they've already timed the lights, so when the light on Bench and Fairway turns green, the one on Olympus turns fairly green, right after that. And so they've actually timed those two lights.
Oh,
So
interesting.
there's not,
So you're not stopping and then stopping,
Correct.
because
So-
that backup would be horrible.
correct, it would be. So at least when it's green, they're both green.
Interesting.
Also, online, when you click on the diagram for the parking for Highland and it shows all the designations, it might be through the Highland bulletin. I don't know if I don't think it's in our board, but it's in their bulletin.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a mistake, but they designated in blue the student drop-off, parent drop-off
Okay.
to be next to the sidewalk, but not in the parking lot of the teacher parking, but below that, so below the crosswalk. So was that an accident? Because in the writing, it said that you would retain a portion of the teacher parking for the
Correct.
student
We did.
drop-off.
Yeah, the temporary construction fence, or the construction fence is up there, and there is a section of that north parking lot that was the staff parking lot that, could be used. It's obviously not very big, and so maybe that's what they're doing. I mean, 'cause
I don't know,
I'm
it
sure will
didn't,
be
it didn't
used.
have any place for parent drop-off other than below that crosswalk.
Okay.
Mr.
We
Baldwin,
can
did you
look
say
at
they
that.
pushed that fence back off of the sidewalk about 15?
Yes, they did. That's
So
what
would
I said.
there
They-
be maybe
they
2
gave
lanes
options.
that we could paint? So parents could come in 2 lanes?
I don't think there's enough for 2 lanes. I think there'd only be enough for one, that they'd come in from the west and then exit the south. And then
Oh.
we need to protect the pedestrians, because again, the busing will still be up along Fairway, along the
Yes.
tennis courts. So there'll
Yeah.
be students walking down that sidewalk to get into school as well.
So is that where they're gonna go, down the sidewalk, or will they be around to the right? I guess if you're, I don't know what direction it is, but will there be kind of a little, if you have a lane, would we be able to paint a smaller pedestrian lane right next to that? So they
So
cannot be
that'll-
going on the sidewalk
So
and
that'll,
blocking everything?
so the lane will essentially be the sidewalk, and then we just have to protect so that somebody can cut that too soon and jump the small
Yeah.
curb and then.
Just from my
jump on there.
experience, when the buses get there
Mhm.
and everybody gets off the buses, the parents can't get in to,
Sure.
unless the students go around the parking lot. If they come down the sidewalk, and if all of the students are now coming down the sidewalk,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that could be, I just know,
Sure,
how
yeah,
it
yeah,
is
you have
from-
experienced that for sure, and we
Yeah.
appreciate that. So I can,
I mean, I think the line for a parent drop-off will be all the way up. Anyway, just all the way
Up
up,
there.
Fairway.
I mean, it definitely will be
like
some
20
construction, some temporary, some different challenges there. Obviously, our main goal is safety
Yeah.
with our students and staff, and so it might be that there might be some longer lines to be able to get
Well, I just
that
wonder if we
safety.
can have the kids go around so they have their own lane that they're directed away from the cars.
Sure.
I'm not sure if you
I think I
understand
do.
what
I
I'm
think
saying.
the challenge is just to accomplish that, because they can't cut towards the building there. So if you're okay, I can even call Travis or Brad this evening, and I promise they will be watching that very closely, and
Oh, I'm
as we all will, tomorrow, so. Lastly, I wanted to update, again, some updates on the architect. We're in this phase now that the architect and his engineering team is meeting with our end users. So we've met with the kitchen staff, we've met with athletics coaches, Travis Bell, coaches and so forth, met with IT for needs of, for the different IT needs of the new area, as well as science. Next week, we'll meet with auditorium and the music folks to get their preliminary, their preliminary requirements and so forth. Again, we're still working within the structure of the budget, and so forth as that. And then the last thing we still need to do, whereas I think we'll have 2 of you be there as well, working on some interior finishes, just so we can work on that. We wanted to Kent wanted to provide some samples, if you will, or recommendations, and then so we'll have something to discuss there. So that's meeting.
So will that won't be the full Highland Rebuild Committee, or will it be?
Typically, no.
Or will it
not-
be the
not
smaller
initially. It'll just,
architectural?
it'll be kind of the smaller architect, with 2 members of the board, and then probably some administration and so forth. So, and again, those things can change, but at least the more that we can get into these construction documents, the better our numbers will be.
And I'm sorry, I missed when you were gonna start doing the construction meetings.
The construction meetings, we'll probably start in September, because the work, the demo and relocation of the utilities will happen probably the day after Labor Day.
Okay.
So we'll start those OAC meetings in September.
Okay, and we had questions about the food service, the situation with the lunch ladies,
Okay,
or food service personnel
okay. yes.
over there at the Gateway, how it wasn't adequate for them
So we've made.
last year. I didn't know what the update with that was.
Okay, we tried to make the best of the situation. We actually got them more, better, improved heating and air conditioning there, so at least they'll be able to control that, whereas they were kind of at the mercy of the other part. We did redo the ramp, so that's a little bit easier, and we did actually get them a better truck so that they can still move.
So the situation will be the same, but the
More
details
tenable.
have been
Correct,
improved.
correct. The logistics will still be the same there. Yes.
And so we won't have anything in the front, like a mod or anything to be able to
No,
service.
and I mean, that was it was just the amount of effort to spend on that part. We wanted kind of to keep it going on the main building. After talking with administration, yes, it is very compact, but it's doable.
Okay.
And so that, the mods would require, the power and maybe some removal of trees and so forth, and it,
Yeah.
we
Well,
want,
which is all covered by insurance, but I
It
was
is.
only asking that really because it could just be only for the kitchen personnel. So they're just having to bring it right into the school. It wouldn't have to be for students to be, I didn't know.
sure, just kind of
if
like a
you
temporary
understood
kitchen
what I
there.
was saying, yeah.
Like-
Just a temporary kitchen for them,
I do.
so they don't have to have it delivered over there and then bring it over.
Correct, put it in the truck.
Put it in the truck and then bring it over.
Again, it was just the effort there, that, wanted to kind of focus on what they were, focus on the rest of the building, I guess.
It'll be 3 more year,
It will be 3, yeah.
3 more years, so I guess maybe they might want that as a
Okay,
point.
okay, we'll, we'll.
I think we should keep that as a consideration.
Making some improvements,
Mhm.
and we'll see how that has
Mhm.
helped, and then, we definitely, again, 3 years is still time that we can make some changes still.
Yeah.
What about the bleachers for the small gym?
Oh, thank you. Yep, I was gonna cover that.
Oh, I'm
It's on my
sorry.
special projects, but yes, those are shipping. They're scheduled to ship actually next week. But then, as you know, we're right in the middle of volleyball season, so working with athletic director, the week of the September 23rd, week of September 23rd, and that first week in October is the least amount of games, and so they will be installed during those 2 weeks.
Right on.
In September.
So, that way I think they'll be in time there for districts and then basketball.
And I don't remember if you said what was happening with the old bleachers. Could they be used at another school?
No, typically not. And all the elementaries, all the middle schools received new bleachers
Oh,
2 summers ago.
with our
Through
COVID
some,
funds?
with some ESSER funds, yeah. So right now, we don't have plans to reuse those.
Okay.
I do need to mention, I didn't have in my notes, but just came to mind, and we'll pass along the details, but wanted to let you know, and we'll get some communication through the Highland staff. There's several items of jerseys and blankets that the insurance deemed non-salvageable. So they have paid us and reimbursed us for those items. Well, as you know, the insurance is trying to cover any costs that they have, so they're actually going to take these items that we've been reimbursed in full and sell them. And it will go through primetime auction at the end of this month. Okay?
And that will be by the insurance company?
It'll be by the insurance, not to benefit any, and no Highland, no district, no nothing, but it will be, and then that money will be offset to the insurance cost. But I wanted to let you, the board, know that that is coming. I don't have an exact date yet, but it could be even as early as next week. So if
And
you
these are
see
things
that.
that were in that basement storage room?
Correct, basement storage room. There's lots, and then I got involved because, again, anything with Highland in the school that we have to offer it to all taxpayers. Well, no, not this one, and the name will actually be fire loss, from Highland to benefit insurance or something of that nature. So just wanted to mention that to you as well. just
And
in
that's
case.
your prime time?
It is through prime time.
In case people wanted to go purchase some
Yes, but
memorabilia?
again, it doesn't, it doesn't
Smoky.
benefit Highland, it doesn't benefit, and obviously it's as is, smoke filled. But just wanted to let you know that was happening.
Okay.
So,
Piece of
okay.
history.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, quick update on PV Tech. We are set for, students will be there Thursday, so they stay in their home schools tomorrow. And we did receive a temporary certificate of occupancy. Yep, so that is great. And so there will be areas that the students cannot access, right? As construction zone, there's no life safety sprinkler systems or anything like that. They will be hopefully just temporarily barricaded off with some tape and so forth. We think the students will be learners will be very good there. If they're not, and we have wanderers, then we'll put up permanent walls, but that just takes more time and money. So we did, through this, the last probably 10 days, we held some final inspection walkthroughs with the architect, with the contractor, and with our team, and kind of went through and everything, putting little painter's tape on things that need to be updated. So felt good there, and we're moving furniture in there now. So again, last year we had 5 classrooms of students. This on Thursday we'll have 14. And then actually the week after that, we'll have 15. It's the textiles classroom that is so close to being done, but just,
Really?
yeah.
All the sewing machines?
All the
that-
sewing,
that-
and that's what needs to be done is just the cabinetry work.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so it's good. It is still a remodel, so it's not, perfect there, but definitely safe for our learners, teachers. Of course, Rhonda, of course, is ecstatic, still excited. Over the moon.
And what, the ribbon cutting, was it
October 3rd.
Third, yep.
October 3rd. That's what I
Yep,
thought I
and
saw on the
so
calendar.
that's, if you go by, they're working on stucco on the outside, on the new building there as well. And so basically, shoot to finish by the end of September. So we can have that ribbon cutting the first of October.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're excited about that. Okay, this next one, again, this is just some information. I'll come back with a PowerPoint slide more in detail on some of our summer projects. Again, I'd like to start, I wish July had 60 days in it, because you'll see there are some that, just like PV Tech, they're wrapping up in September. If I just had 30 extra days. Again, we were some great things got accomplished, most of our projects got accomplished. Again, Chubbuck Elementary, all new lights in that as well.
And wasn't that Gate City as well?
Chubbuck, and I was gonna get there, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, yes. Or was it Tyhee? I believe it was Tyhee.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was Tyhee. I think Gate City was maybe last year.
Oh, okay.
And so we did some brick repair on, some of our buildings there. Indian Hills, again, they will finish up next week. We met with the principal yesterday and the roofing company to make sure the fencing, again, protected our students and our learners and our staff there. But that is a very 30-year roof on Indian Hills, and that's just a lot of flat roof there. I've got a picture that we'll share later on there. Some asphalt repair throughout there. We appreciate Jefferson Elementary. We just in the last couple days finished up their new HVAC system, new boilers. And so the teachers came back with no air, and so we appreciate their patience there. But that was, to get materials and so forth. But that'll be a great addition to that school as well. Again, it was Tyhee that got new lighting as well. And so obviously carpet, VCT, we didn't have any problem with there. That got down on several different places as well. Security doors also at Indian Hills and Wilcox. New security vestibules as well were done there. For the secondary, out at Century, the turf field will be finished up on probably the 10th of September in time for their first game on the 13th. So,
And
yeah.
so they'll just be practicing somewhere else?
So, yep, they'll be practicing on that soccer field. We'll paint the lines there as well. Again, they had a little bit of roof repair as well. At Highland, this one is a little bit slower. We and this is regarding their team room. We've never been able to make a football season to complete that team room. It's basically just done before, before the snow flies, and it's ready for the spring. And then football uses it the next fall. And so that's the same, this one. It will be into October to do that, and we're working with that contractor to get that done as quick as we can there. We mentioned the lower bleachers. I had that highlighted. And then there at Pocatello, there was, remember we had to replace some plumbing, that 100-year-old plumbing in the basement. And when we're cutting lines, trying to find lines, we ended up cutting some electrical, so there was some extra work there. But that literally was done this week as well, trying to get back the freezers, like the office. They said
Down to
the
the
office
wire.
space was put into the freezer, and we couldn't turn on the freezers yesterday until we moved out the office equipment. And so, but
Never a
that
dull
part is
moment.
done. So-
Tell me which goal that was allocated.
So this is Pocatello.
Oh,
This is
okay.
Pocatello. We had some leaking, and it was, and I'll show you pictures. That again, you look at the pipe in the bottom, it's completely gone.
That was in the kitchen, right?
It was
Under
down in the kitchen, yep,
concrete.
in the basement.
Yeah.
Yep, so I had to
Right.
dig up the concrete and so forth like that. Again, some VCT at Alameda, it's a little bit of asphalt work at Pocatello and Hawthorne as well. So,
Arches, how's that building? I drove by there the other day.
yes, thank you. That's
Yeah.
right there.
There you go.
So perfect.
Oh, thank you.
So that one's going very well. And so again, it'll be mid-September, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, they're on track, and they will make sure they get that. The good thing there is that since it was an addition, we can still be in the main building that they've always been used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so that will, welcome students tomorrow. But that new addition will be very nice, and that's on schedule as well,
Great.
mid-September. Yeah. The roof is done, and so they're trying to look at, okay, can we get another temporary occupancy that they can get on the inside while they finish out the exterior trim and so forth. So, again, just a little summer highlight, and I'll come back with pictures and a little more details in a future board meeting.
That's great.
Okay, the next one, I believe, is our supplemental levy. You have several documents attached there. If you could open the one that's called, it says L-2. We'll start with this current year. This is a document that we've had to submit.
I do.
Do you see that there? Kind of a couple different ones.
I don't have, nothing was pulling up on mine. None of them.
There we go.
Again, this is just a document that we submit to the county, and this is how the county knows what taxes to assess. And so we've never shown this to you. It's always available. It's a public document. But we felt, well, maybe we could do that. Again, several pages. There's there's a training that the State Tax Commission came to Chubbuck and taught all of the area schools, and I attended that as well. And so just all the different taxes from the tort to our supplemental levy, plant facilities levy, and so forth are detailed there. As well as there's even, they call it a voter tracker. So again, we are on the second year of our 2-year supplemental levy that the voters approved on March 14th of 23. And so we're on that second year of that 8.25 million there. I did put a kind of a summary sheet in there because it is a little bit different. This is still not submitted. I have until the end of the month, but I might have to ask, the entire state will have to ask for an extension because we do not know our school district facilities fund amount. And that will offset, that's a tax reduction to our taxpayers. We still need the 8.25 million, but whatever we get from the state, obviously we don't need to ask our taxpayers for. And so I need to know that amount. We estimate it's going to be close to 3.3 million, down from 4.5 from last year. Again, this is nothing that we can control of. This is just what it came down from the state. So because of that, again, the tax, the ask on this L2 will be slightly higher than what it was last year. And so you can kind of see the comparisons. You'll see, again, our market values, these are still estimates, but comparing the two dates, you know, we're talking almost no growth, no decline, a slight decline, I guess, but out of the $7.3 billion of taxable value in our school district, it was down, they're estimating about 15 million. But we left that tax amount the same. So again, first thing, this first time you've seen this, it's something we'll, you know, that we've done, that we do every year to send that to the to the county, and they send it to the tax commission. So now the action in front of you is, and I appreciate Ms. Fisher joining, we need to set the levy amount that is for the ballot that will go in front of our taxpayers November 5th. And this will be for next school year. So the 25, 26, and 26, 27 school years. So if you'll open up the one that says levy history, it's a chart and a graph. And a kind of, you know, a supplemental level historical view going back from the 2011, 2012 school year. Again, I wanted to show kind of how consistent we've been there.
First one. The historic.
Yeah, the historic one. Sorry, there's several documents there. Just wanted to, again, show you the history there. That, you know, note that, you know, the high there, we had 7 years that our taxpayers had approved a 9.25. We had 1 year that our surplus was such that we could you know, take 2 million off of that. But as I just finished mentioning, our last ballot was 8.25 million. So to put that in front of you, if I may be as bold to make a recommendation that it stay the same of 8.25 million, but that is the action in front of you this evening, so that we can, we have to have wording, I think it's the Friday before Labor Day, so at the end of this month, we have to have the ballot language. If you remember, that's the same process we had to have for the bond, and so forth. And so if you look, there's a draft resolution as well there, that we have to list what this money is used for. So this might be another tool for discussion as well. We've highlighted in yellow that you could help change there. But again, assuming the 8.25, this is how we would spend the money from salaries and benefits, textbook supplies, technology, software, some staffing, extracurricular, transportation and travel, custodial, the extracurricular salaries, even a little bit for some school resource officers. So, I don't know.
And this amount takes into consideration that 3.3 from the state, correct?
Yes.
You talk about the net. Yeah, and then maybe Mrs. Fisher, if you will.
Thank you.
Talk about how we can discuss that in our presentations, but not ballot language.
Okay,
on the
so
disclosure.
So yes, so that 3.3 million, I mean, we still need the 8.25, but we would get the 3.3 million. Let's say that's the amount from the state, and then we would ask the remaining amount, you know, from our taxpayers.
The remaining out of the 8.25?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Yeah,
Okay.
and we would note that on the L2, and it forces us, obviously, you know, to use that all amount. That's what we would do. That's, you know.
Oh, that makes sense.
We'll pass along any savings we can to our taxpayers. But then, yes.
So that law that was passed last year that prevents school districts from putting that on the ballot, that school district's facilities fund money, as a tax savings, we cannot put that on the ballot disclosure. We can present that in our informational material and discuss it. It just cannot be part of the ballot, and so it's better just to leave it very cut and dry. This is what we're asking. This is the tax impact per $100,000, and then we can try to our very best ability to help our community understand that they will still see that tax savings when their tax bill comes. But we
So it'll
cannot.
be less than what we present?
Yes.
Okay.
So any.
The 113 would be less. That's
The
what
per
you're.
100,000.
Correct, correct.
The amount per 100,000.
Yeah.
So then we asked for 1.25, and then I'm thinking through that, then we would use that 3 point whatever to pay down the 8.25,
Correct.
which then, okay,
That is
that
correct.
makes sense.
And again,
We're-
so this levy is for even the next school year, so, and I don't know, Dr. Howell, I don't know if you know what even next year's would be, even estimate, I haven't seen an estimate on that, maybe a little higher? if I
With
remember.
the modernization 521 money, it was written in there that it would be the same for 10 years. 10 years is a long time, but
Yeah.
we'll take them at their word, and whatever we receive in this next go, I think it will be somewhere in that neighborhood.
To stay the same.
Yeah.
But it's potential, it's a possibility that the state could be out of funds for that, and therefore, it's a potential.
If the bonding goes according to plan, it should all be there for that 10-year.
Okay, so that's pretty solid.
It seems that way,
It's-
yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
11 years, not so much.
Correct, yeah, well,
Right.
I think that, yeah, what we learned is that we'll still, we don't know for sure, so we'll just give them the, say, worst-case scenario. I mean, we need this amount, and this is how much we would ask. We
Okay.
pass along any savings we can get.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Gotcha,
sense.
yeah.
Okay, and then just very, very briefly, you'll take action on the amount tonight, but we always like to be, prepare in advance so that we are poised to communicate this to the public just as soon as you make a decision. And so I've put together the facts and information sheet that we typically do with a supplemental levy renewal or a bond proposal. So that is in your board packet. If you looked at that draft, everything in yellow highlighted are those subject to change upon your approval or discussion for those amounts. This is typical. I also included historically what we published in 2023 for that levy. I wanted our newest board members to be able to use that as a reference so that you could see it won't be just in this document, boring form. We try to present that information so that it kind of helps tell the story of the levy while still remaining just strictly factual and informational, not advocating or promotional at all. So I wanted to give you an example of that. I want to redesign this year so that it looks fresh, so that when people see it, it doesn't feel like an old document that they've already seen. I wanted to
With
draw
the
their
same
attention.
graphs.
And so,
That's the email.
yes, that's the email I sent you, yes. I didn't want to confuse the issue by having you look at this and think, oh, that's 2023. So that's just for your reference only, that the Word document is the working document that I will send out to put a design toward pending your discussion and approval.
And you're
today.
talking, and you're talking about the supplemental levy fact sheet.
Yes, the fact
And
that
that's
is
what,
the Word
this-
document.
starting with salaries and benefits
Yes.
on down.
Yep.
Now, 2 years ago, was special ed one of these things?
I'll let Jonathan
Yep.
speak to that.
And thank you, excellent memory, it actually was.
Okay,
It
so
actually
I'm
was.
wondering, did we fund special ed a different way?
So how we initially came up with that, because again, this is only their second election ballot that we've had to have that. We do, obviously, some of our local dollars have be spent for special ed and for transportation. As you know, they cover just a portion of that. That being said, if the supplemental levy were ever to fail, we still have to serve those special ed students, and we still have to transport them. So yes, we would have to fund them through some of the state dollars. And so that's why, through discussion with Dr. Howell and everyone, that's where we said, well, we should probably take those off because we would not have to cut that if the supplemental levy were
Oh,
were
I
fail.
see.
Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
we still will have to transport students.
Required services.
Yes, thank
No
you.
matter
Excellent
what.
work.
Oh, okay, so that's, so that the public isn't thinking, these are the things we won't have.
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
I understand that.
Every time we evaluate one of these communications or the ballot, we look at it in terms of how can we be the most transparent and what are we really going to cut? And so we look at these and try to say,
how can we improve this communication to really help the public understand exactly where these dollars will go.
But
So if I-
special ed did not receive any kind of a cut. Oh, no. I mean, you know, I don't know if that will come up, but I know, I remember it was there, and probably other people remember, and I just want to be sure to make sure that, you know, we have that information, that it's not.
And we
it's
can
not-
share that as a talking point as we go out and do. We've already
Yeah.
started scheduling both school and public presentations. So the other document that I included in your board packet was the communication plan and timeline for the levy public information. So we've already started scheduling those presentations. I think we have like 15 school presentations. We've got a couple of community ones.
Are you going to share that
On the docket. I will
schedule?
share that,
Yeah.
absolutely, yep.
To come to some.
And so we want to start those presentations the week of September 16th. Once tonight's board meeting is done, I will do just a really basic media release, pending your approval and the outcome of that, just so that we can get it out there immediately. However, I need to build some time in to get the communications prepared, as well as update the website. And so I'm just asking for a little bit of grace period with the public. We'll get the media release, and then we'll start getting those other communications in motion. By the week of September 2nd, right after Labor Day, we'll have the SE25 /elections updated, and then we'll start really pushing this information out the week of September 16th. So that timeline is there for your review. If you have any other ideas or community presentations, once you see that list, any other groups, I believe with our bond, we were up to almost 70 presentations. And so we've really tried to identify other groups that we can get this information out in front of.
Can I ask, I've got two questions, if I can remember them. So the first, just to clarify what you were saying about the items that are selected to be listed. So you're saying that we needed to put things on here that if the levy fails, these can be cut. That's what is that what you're kind of
That's
versibly
kind of the
saying?
reverse, yes,
They have to
that's one way to
Without being,
approach
okay.
this.
And so
yes.
then the next question I had, I mean, and I understand that, because I also wonder, you know, in the marketing, can this have the flip side that, well, this is extracurricular stuff, they don't need that, so I don't need to, you know what I mean? I mean, it
The
can kind of go,
transportation includes special education and everybody, though, right?
but I mean, I'm just saying, the way it's with the extracurricular, do people look at that as, well, that's fluff, they don't?
Yep.
Anyway,
that's- Yeah,
well-
yeah, Dr. Howell is smiling because we had that same
Yeah.
conversation.
Does that,
Um,
so,
Community, that wouldn't fly.
Correct.
I
And-
know. So
and-
then my
and-
next question, sorry, just so I
Please
don't
go, yeah,
forget,
yeah.
because my brain
Please,
doesn't hold
sorry.
things long time. See, I've already lost it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. Would it be important to show, and you know, again, Courtney, this is more of a marketing question, you know, and what kind of a message does this say? But, you know, our percentage of passage rate, does that communicate something that encouraging people to vote because fewer people are voting for it? You see what I'm saying? I mean, when it's passed at a higher level, however many years ago, and then recently it's kind of dropped, I don't know. I don't know if that's an important
I think that we're
piece to
also
put in or not.
in correlation with this, which is kind of separate, but will be standard, is we're doing a tax impact webpage that Jonathan and Cammie and I are working on together, that I think that would be really helpful on that kind of page. So that's historical data.
Right.
It would not include that probably on this piece, because I think that you could then.
Right,
say-
I mean, it could be
I mean,
taken both ways. Oh, well, it doesn't
It's just
have.
too much
It's
information.
factual, but
Yeah.
yeah, at the same
Just-
time, is it
Okay.
really impactful, and is it necessary to include on
Okay.
here?
Yeah.
But I think there is a way that we could help communicate those numbers on the website or on that tax impact
But it is
page.
noticeable that we've had, that it's going down, that it's
Right.
declining. And so do you want to make sure that those people who support it, make sure it, you know, I mean, I think, like I said, the messaging can be taken both ways, but
And I can say that has been happening across the state.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
It has been going down a little bit there. It is a reminder, this does require just the 50%,
yeah. So that's-
50% plus one
Helps.
to pass. And so, but it is going up and is a presidential election,
Yeah.
November 5th.
And I
And
do
so-
think that the flyers have to
Turnout will be
be
out
less wordy, because when I look at a flyer and I just sweep through, if there are little paragraphs, a lot of little paragraphs, it's just, I don't know. I skip it. I'm just trying to picture what everybody else would do.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm fine with reading stuff, like I read a lot of stuff, but I just think that's the initial reaction is to skip through it, you know.
So to answer your first question, and sorry if I interrupted you there in the middle there. You know, obviously what we spend on extracurricular transportation and salaries is more than this. But yet we wanted to kind of see the breadth of, okay, if this were to fail, I mean, it will touch us all.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
all aspects of it. It's right between 7 and 8% of the budget. And so, you know, it's definitely needed and would be, you know, would be a challenge if it were to fail. Obviously, that's why we're doing it in November and not May. As you read across the state, those that waited until May and then something if it did fail, they're done until, for that school year, and they're making some very hard cuts. So, anyway, that's the action item in front of you.
I did want to point out too that this timeline and these communication activities do not require an ask. You'll remember from the bond that I came before you and asked for a budget. This is just standard, and really the only cost is printing for the flyers. We don't mail those out, so there's no postage or mailing. It's just the handouts that we do, and then everything else is just kind of folded into our average daily activities for communications.
Awkward pause.
There is definitely finding that balance and that sweet spot of what's too little information and what's too much.
It is,
So
it's
we will-
hard.
Because we do have requirements that we have to have on our information. We also have groups looking at us for transparency purposes, so it's really trying to communicate exactly what the need is and then fulfilling those legal requirements.
Yes, thank you. Are you waiting for me?
I'm just, we'd love
Action.
Oh, I'm
the action
sorry.
item of.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adopt the supplemental levy resolution as if read into the minutes.
I hereby move that the board approve the supplemental levy resolution as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any discussion? The motion passed. Sorry about that. And then we want to move on. You're going to introduce the other things.
Yes, please, if that's
Okay.
okay.
I'm
I'm sorry,
sorry, I
I'm taking
didn't-
so
I
much of
didn't
our time. I'll
understand
go
that
as
we
quick
were
as I
doing that.
can. The next agenda topic is 10-year facility plan. It really could be retitled House Bill 521 compliance. Before you, action is basically that Madam Chair would sign and Dr. Howell will sign these, not stamped, actual signature, wet signatures, this document in front of you. This is, again, House Bill 521 is to get the money that we're paying for Highland and for our other schools, approximately $43 million, that we are getting. Before, if I could go through all the documents, and then you'll see kind of how the signature page goes in there. Again, it's this MAP, M-A-P-P platform. The state found a contractor that had some estimating software, Jacobs Construction, and they obviously paid, I'm sure paid them money for the entire state to load all of our buildings into. And so we picked out Tendoy, for example, to kind of show you the process, and I appreciate our plant facility coordinator, Brian Glenn, for entering a lot of this. Our capital improvement plan that you're a part of was very beneficial because we look out 5 years. And so we know a lot of our buildings there. So again, this is Tendoy. You can see all of the 37 items that you had to say good, fair, poor, or replace. And then it listed out how much life was remaining and then estimating when that would have to be replaced.
And you have these for every school.
And I
This
do
is
have
just-
these for every school, yep. It's
But
just
thanks for not.
Yeah, I didn't want to put there.
But we will pay attention to that.
Correct, there's some
That's
interesting.
really important.
They use, the entire state uses the same price per square foot except for up north. So we're the same price per square foot as Boise, which I don't know if I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. So again, these are very estimates. So as we flip the page, you know, and again, it's a 10-year plan, but they throw it out to 20 years. You can kind of look to see, using those categories of good, fair, poor, or replace, you can kind of see the dollar amounts that it puts in there, 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 20, and 20-plus years.
But
the school.
are we obligated to do
No.
any of this that
No.
we say we're?
Not at all, not at all. And this, is
That's
obviously, well, we'll see, I'll keep going if you don't mind. Anyway, then the summary statement there for Tendo Elementary, what I did include there was our district total. And you can see over 20 years, it's $895 million. And we're doing this only for, 43 million. So, and that's my comments, where these numbers are gonna be so big, I don't know if they'll be useful there. And again, these would be to get our buildings pristine. I think our buildings are in very, very good shape.
But nobody's, even their houses aren't pristine.
That's correct.
We can't, that's not even realistic.
Yeah, so I hope the state, and we've had discussions with this, we hope the state, especially our legislators, take this numbers into consideration, because to get this, our House Bill 521 money, it's all uploaded through this software. Even the signature page that you two have to sign will be uploaded into this MAP program, and that's what the approval is from the state there. And so you can kind of look and see kind of how those numbers are there.
So does this include Highland?
So yes, so what we had to do, each building you could separate out. So Unit 4 at Pocatello was just completed, 3 years ago? But Unit 1 is still the 100 years. And so we were able to separate, for example, Pocatello High out in a couple different units and give them rankings. So with Highland, it was very easy. The D wing,
Zero.
replace. Yeah, came back to 28 million.
Gotcha.
28 million. And so that's part of the 895 million. And
So who estimated the 28 million?
so again, Brian puts in replace for everything, and then
Okay.
this software uses, it's like $453 a square foot. And
Okay,
again,
so our
that's the
insurance
number.
is certainly not using that
Correct.
with their
And-
23
And that's the number that Boise uses as well. It's just
Uh-huh.
up in North Idaho, it's slightly different. I don't know why they.
And it was
Amen.
just the like kind, just not all the improvements. that
Correct,
were
correct.
added. So it would have been just.
I mean,
replace.
it's
A middle school
really
size.
very, very generic. These numbers are extremely generic numbers.
Right, okay.
Because of course, the software calculated, okay, this is how much the D wing, how much square footage, was lost.
That
And
makes
so-
sense.
So the action in front of you is basically just give authorization. Well, I don't know the motion, but it's essentially to be able to sign this signature page.
I think the motion is just to
Approve.
10-year facilities plan as presented.
Okay, okay. And that is what they call that. Obviously, as I talked to Madam Chair, that will, as some of your previous discussions, we'll have better and more in-depth discussions about individual schools in the next year, years to come.
I would entertain a motion to approve the PCSD 25 10 years facility plan as presented. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the PCSD 25 10-year facilities plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion passed.
Okay, thank you. And this next one is we've did a bid release number 1 for Highland High School, as I mentioned earlier. And this had 4 different components: an asbestos abatement, because they won't demo anything that has asbestos. So the standing building would have to be done. Again, we have to relocate some plumbing, and actually it's the gas work. We have to relocate some electrical, and then of course the demo, and we put them together, both the building demo and the pad prep for that building. And you can see, I didn't get the name of this document, but it's the document that you're somewhat familiar with. Some of these documents share the same thing. We had 2 bids for asbestos. You can see the Idaho abatement is our recommendation for $13,131. For plumbing and gas piping, we see two groups, the two bids. Our recommendation is Mountain West Mechanical out of Blackfoot for $44,638. Again, we had some, actually 5 bids for the electrical work. 1 bid came back non-responsive because they didn't acknowledge one of the bidding requirements. You can see the information there, and that the lowest bid was vetted to make sure his number was still.
I was gonna say, that's a spread.
It is. It was.
It
yep.
makes me actually very, that
understand?
one makes me nervous, because it feels like almost we should do something in the mid-range, because how can a bid go from 116,000 to $1.4 million?
Okay, so obviously that first one is almost like the entire school. We're not sure. There, we didn't
Like-
contact them because they weren't the low bid. Again, Bateman Hall and Mike Clements, who you know, he and
I
Shay,
mean, were they bidding the same thing?
You're saying
So-
Nelson,
so
Nelson
yes.
Electric bidded the whole school, but everyone else just bid?
sorry, no,
Okay.
no, through our fair bidding practices, there's a scope, there's drawings, so everybody's bidding the exact same thing. I'm saying that number is almost for the whole building.
Oh, okay.
But
Oh.
that's what it seemed like, but no, they had the exact same drawings. We're not exactly sure.
And this is not going to be the company that is going to do the building,
That
do
is-
the, do
that
the
is-
new construction. This is only the demo.
This is only the demo.
Okay,
They,
so maybe they bid it based on their desire to want the job.
possibly, but
Because
they were
something is
in the
gonna be
reverse,
weird.
yeah, they're reverse number there. So, but yes, so again, it's this work, these contracts, the board approves them, but then the contract will be held with Bateman Hall and Cutting Edge Electric. So our requirement is, okay, you need to relocate this power. And again, the next thing we're gonna talk about is Bateman Hall is guaranteeing that electrical work will be this 116,400 to the scope that we wanted.
Do you know if Bateman Hall has worked with Cutting Edge Electric before?
So yes, they have done work there,
They
and so
have
they feel
experience with it.
comfortable
Okay.
with that. And I asked Mike for all of these, and they will not hesitate to say if, I know we don't feel comfortable with that number there, but they do that. So, and then we had one bid for a local company, M&S Development, for the building demo and the pad prep. So, and then the other documents, again, this actually came from Bateman Hall. Again, they wanted to just verify, which we appreciate, verify that they're licensed
Yep.
in the state of Idaho, and then they listed basically in their format some of the bidding packages and what they recommend.
Okay.
So the action item in front of you is to approve the bids as.
Do those contractors have to be bonded with the city?
So, yes, I believe, I'm pretty sure they did.
Because we
They
had
do.
to meet the public works.
Oh, yeah, all they have to do public, and yes, I'm pretty sure, because we had, it wasn't this project, but over the summer,
minimum.
a Boise contractor, yeah, they had to be bonded with the city, so they had to do that. So I'm pretty sure all of these would have to be as well.
Okay, I think maybe it was mentioned that maybe these prices are really high because these contractors are really busy. And they think,
Correct.
if we're gonna get this, I gotta make it worth my time to
Correct.
pull
And-
off those jobs.
And that's an excellent point. Again, we do this so we can, get the work done this fall. So again, as I reported, they'll start, right after Labor Day, with your approval tonight. And then they'll work to have this done basically by November. And then the bidding, the rest of the rest of the building will happen in January and February when contractors are slow. They're gonna be, hopefully they're hungry and they'll give us some good prices. So this same process will go through in February board meeting as well.
Okay. Do we have to have the same requirements as far as licensing and everything for our architectural firm too?
So
Do
yes,
have
they
to
do
meet those
have to
same?
be, yep, they do have to be licensed
Okay,
in
but we're
the
just-
state of Idaho.
We're just not doing that one, no.
Because you chose them last summer
Mm-hmm.
with Bateman Hall and Design West. You'd kind of chosen them. And then that's,
Well, I just am referring to this construction document that we have here.
okay, and that's the second one. So if you could,
Oh, okay.
that's the next item. If we could take some action on these bid awards, then I'll talk about this amendment to their contract.
I would-
Mr. Pauls, before you move on, pardon me, Madam Chair, will you talk about the original quotes versus the?
Oh, thank
bid?
you.
Yeah, give
Yep,
them kind
this-
of an
this
idea of where
little-
we're at in this.
This little check tape right here.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah,
That's it.
sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Yes, because Dr. Howell had asked when we prepared this document about, and I didn't write it on there, but again, we wanted to report that these are under the budget estimates. So as you saw estimates and summaries from Bateman Hall, a very, very conservative number. We're at least about 152,000 below budget with this.
150
with this
to
work.
200,000?
152,000, yeah. And that's very conservative, and when we get into the amendment, I'll kind of even show where that could even increase, where we've put, contingencies in there and kind of talk about that. So,
Great.
yeah.
I would entertain a motion to approve the bid awards as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the bid awards as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Now the contract.
Okay, so this is essentially why we wanted to get Bateman Hall and Design West on team using the CMGC process. So this document, this is Exhibit A to their contract that we signed last summer, and it's the GMP, it's the guaranteed maximum price. So to demo and pad prep, they are basically putting in contract that this is the amount that they will do. And they're gonna do the same thing for our entire school, which is great, right? Because
With
that's.
every phase?
There will not, for every, they'll, hopefully should only be 2 phases, but yeah, this is the GMP, guaranteed maximum price. This is how much we're paying there. And so it's basically starting on page, jump to it's really page 6. Again, it identifies there. This is the GMP cost, from Bateman Hall. At that top in the pink lists all of the packages. So 731,526, and then it lists some of the Bateman Hall costs, what they have to spend to make sure it gets there, and the inside of even some of these items, again, in this entire package plus our 10% contingency, it's still the 152,000 below budget there. That again, hopefully we'll be able to. Keep going and use that in our big building there. But even some of these I'm now in the middle of this gray cost, some project-specific items. Again, contingencies. If they don't use it, we get it back, right? These are same thing with what was it, 75?
Use it somewhere else.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Use
not
it somewhere else.
making
Same thing with the industrial hygienist. This is the one that tests the air after the abatement. Well, the bid came in a lot lower, even a third lower, but he still left it there just in case.
Sure.
Well, let me tell you, the big one at the very bottom there, underground demo allowance for 55,000. Again, we know there's a lot of unknowns, we just don't know the quantity. And because when we go to fill in that basement, we kind of have to shore up the existing building. And this is all through Mike, and they've already started to talk about this. It's just, what are we gonna find back there? What temporary structures do we have to create until we can fill it back in? Do you see kind of how we need to shore up the existing building until we can fill it and compact it with dirt? And so, I'm so excited about our team because they're already starting to think about this. Let me go to this P number 9. Again, the temporary fence has taken away, I'm on the southeast side. There's the fence that goes down into the basement of the E-wing, or down at that lower level of E-wing. We'll discuss with Highland administration if they need a sidewalk to that area. Well, if we don't need a sidewalk, we'll save 15,000. If we do, Bateman Hall's going to put it in. But
That
that's
temporary sidewalk, though, that would be 100% covered by insurance,
so.
right? Some of these things, we're actually not going to receive any savings because it'll be paid for 100%. by
Correct. So
insurance.
in your
Right.
mind, go back to
Not all of it.
the budget hearing. Again, we're going to get some insurance money. We're going to get House Bill 520 money in the revenue side. These are just the expenditures that we'll have. So yes, in your mind, you can say, oh, yeah, that's covered, but it's not necessarily a one-for-one,
So
thing.
they're not
We'll-
requiring us to use it for that.
Correct.
They're
That
just
is
giving
correct.
us that money.
They will still review all of these documents
Oh, because
and make sure.
basically we do use it for what we,
Correct,
It's
but it
intent.
won't be necessarily a one-for-one,
Mm-hmm.
sidewalk for a sidewalk. But we'll make sure it is covered in there, but so yes, your statement is correct. It's just in my mind, it's more of a, kind of a higher,
Mm-hmm.
almost like an hourglass, all the revenues come in the top, and then it gets filtered out through the
Mm-hmm.
expenditure side, and hopefully we have some sand left over at the bottom.
yeah,
when we're
because
done.
I know some of it is not covered by insurance, like
That is
maybe
correct.
enlarging the pad. I
That's
mean,
correct.
things like that.
Yep.
But things that are covered, almost need to be in a separate category because we can't really save by not doing those things. We're just
Sure,
making it more difficult for
And,
ourselves.
yep, that's.
And we're saving the insurance company money, but also making it more difficult for ourselves. Like
That-
by not, for example, the temporary sidewalk.
Correct.
Like if
correct.
it would really greatly improve the lives of the
Sure.
administration and students there.
Yeah, then we're gonna put
Then
it
we
in,
just
for
put-
sure.
okay.
It's in there, and then, yeah, we'll say, make sure it's in the insurance, document there.
Yeah, because they agreed to pay for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, again, the total GMP for them is a little under 1.1 million. Again, again, this is all within those big numbers that you saw initially, but, just a demo contingency for us to have. And the great thing is, again, they're opening their books. We will know when they use their contingency. They'll ask us to use our contingency, make sure it's, we get the project done, so. I think,
I would entertain a motion to approve the Bateman Hall Phase 1 contract amendment as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the Phase 1 contract amendment for Bateman Hall as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Next is the superintendent report. Thank you, Jonathan. That's an incredible amount of work. I'm overwhelmed. But thank you for doing all those schools. Anyway, next on the agenda is the superintendent report presented by Doug.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So first up is board calendar, and as you can see, and you all know, tomorrow's first day of school. On Friday, from 11 to, well, we have it 11 to 12. I think it's 11:30 to 1, actually. If you want to get down to the Chamber of Commerce, they're doing an appreciation barbecue, and we are members of the chamber. So if you have a chance, you can go down and grab a burger and some fries at any point during that hour and a half time.
And that was what day again? I'm sorry.
That's this Friday.
Oh, this Friday, okay.
Uh-huh, yep. And then,
Simple
next up on your calendar there is breakfast with the governor. I think Courtney probably sent out a notice or an invite, and if you're interested, you can let her or Renee know. We also show key communicators that day. We don't normally start until September, so you can just X that one, but we'll see it again later in September. Wednesday, the 28th, we'll have an OAC meeting at 1:30 to 2:30. Those have been weekly, just as we try to get that project completed.
So we don't have one tomorrow?
We do have one tomorrow.
And that's for
OAC.
PV, for the PV Tech OAC.
PV Tech.
Not
Uh-huh. Yep,
Highland
not
OAC.
Highland, not yet.
Now we're gonna have to start to specify.
Yeah, hopefully we'll
Because we're
complete
gonna have
one and
two
then we can
OAC.
pick up the other. How about that? But we're going to be really close. There may be a little overlap there. And then student discipline hearings, we know we have at least one reschedule from last week.
Do we have enough, I am out of town,
Oh.
so do you have enough board members?
So-
Deanna will not be able to make it either. so
Tell me,
we'll look at a different
now,
day.
tell me which one, the,
Oh.
the
That was
20,
the 28th,
the 20th of September?
yeah, the
Oh.
28th, right?
August.
28th.
Yes,
So next
yes.
Wednesday.
Yeah, this next
Let me just check really quick.
Okay.
And that would be August 20,
No.
and I have a line through mine. Is that what it is?
August 28th.
Yes, August 28th.
There's a line through mine. Is that
You
supposed to
declined
be there?
If you decline.
Oh,
it,
yeah,
it's a-
declined, yeah.
Oh,
Yep, that's-
Okay, so it sounds like we need to pick a different date. the 28th won't work if we won't
Just-
have a quorum.
I don't know
Could
if
possibly
you were able to
call in?
to get us in, because that's all we would need.
I'm, yeah.
Yes, I will be at a family wedding. I'm
Right.
so sorry. Yes.
So if you call me, I could call you, yeah.
And if I
I-
call
and
you
that's
and
actually
be ready
at-
to pick up at 4 and stay on for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I could
And-
do that.
And I
Okay.
don't think I could because the wedding is at 4.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
So that'd be
Alright.
awkward.
No phone calls.
No.
Yeah.
All right, September 2nd is Labor Day, and then the 10th is the Community Prevention Meeting. If you're interested, let Renee know. And then we'll have our first work session of the year on September 10th as well. Student discipline hearings, again, just a placeholder for you every 2 weeks on Wednesdays. You can see on the 13th, after a couple of reschedules, we have ISBA board training with Ann Ritter. We're scheduled 11:30 to 3:30. And then that brings us to the 17th regular board meeting. There's the first key communicators for the year on the 24th. Student discipline hearings that every other Wednesday. And then Thursday, October 3rd, PV Tech ribbon cutting and open house. So please get those
What
on your
time?
calendar. There will be invitations in the mail later this week.
October.
Be looking for those.
11.
Oh, 11:15 is what I have.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, so the chamber does the ribbon cutting. We've invited the governor and heard that he may be in the area of southeast Idaho anyway. And I said, well, he just needs to be here for this no matter what. And so, and we'll invite all the legislators, city councils, folks, mayors, other dignitaries. We've started creating a list. Mrs. Fisher has that out on Google Form. And maybe once we get near completion, we could send that to the board and let you make sure that we've included everyone that you were thinking of as well. And so we'll yeah, I think we have a really good start on that list. So we'll let you in on it, and then
I
you
would
tell
like
us.
to note too that ISBA will hold their Region 5 meeting there after the ribbon cutting, so they plan to have a lot of the regional board members attend as well, so.
That's nice.
Okay, great. I think that takes us out as far as we need to be here. Next.
No, did you say the CEO breakfast?
It wasn't on here. I didn't say that. but
Tomorrow, right?
Thursday
Thursday.
morning.
Thursday
At the
morning.
Alumni Center, if you RSVP'd
Yeah, 'cause
to come to that.
I didn't RSVP because I didn't see a link for, but can I just tell you that?
Oh, yeah. Yes, and I'll let Courtney know. I think she may have been the one that sent that out, so I didn't
was.
see it on that.
Yeah, I think it was Courtney who sent that one.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Next up for me, Madam Chair, are the policies for first reading. At your pleasure, I don't know if, boy, we spent quite a bit of time with each one of those. I know Ms. Clark had another commitment, and she's probably not had enough.
I did read through them today.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, and an outstanding job again by Renee to pull all of that together from last night's notes and create this merge between the board recommendations, the ISBA model policies, in addition to the district policies. So you can see each one of them are listed there and detailed with the highlights or changes being in the green. And I think there's quite a number of them for you tonight, but I'll just
The
let,
first one is the full PDF.
yes, so
Right.
overlook
So
that, that's,
If we just
Overlook
start
that
with the
one.
media, we'll just start with the media one.
Oh, okay, I just had them
Is
in
that
there. Oh, yeah, they are in there kind of out of order.
they are, but
Okay,
But
so-
yeah,
still.
Because you
that-
sent the
yeah.
email and it's a different order than this.
Yes.
But should I go with the order right here on the
That
agenda?
might be helpful,
Okay.
to just pull them up one at a time in
Okay.
order
So-
of, so start with the
The
6405.
6405.
Yeah.
Okay, so in green, it's our changes. Does anybody have any questions or suggestions about that one? So the next one is testing programs. Anybody? I love that one. I think it's great.
Which number is that?
It's about the ELL and special
Dyslexia.
Exemption.
dyslexic students
Yeah.
about testing, that they shouldn't be required to sit through the testing. Next one, military leave. It's just the law requires 10 days. The next one, head lice. The next one, student use of district-owned electronic devices. I don't remember talking about this one.
That one was just a really, just to add that one new
Harmful.
Idaho code about harmful to minors, because that applies to our internet policy as well. So that was just a very minor change.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so it's not in green, it just refers to the Idaho code.
Right, and it's just that Idaho code that's in green, because it's the one new one that was added.
Okay.
3,
And-
2.
And so, and I guess there's no way to guarantee that they can't access it, because there's always loopholes. But they are aware of that, though.
Right, and that
Parents
policy
have to
lists
sign
all
that
of
they are
the
aware.
safeguards that are in place. It's just the definition of harmful to minors that's changed, so
Mm-hmm. Okay.
our processes stayed the same.
But as far as the district-owned electronic devices, we have made them aware that it's
Yes.
not foolproof. And okay,
Absolutely.
okay, just because of, for, liability purposes. So the next one is vacancies on the Board of Trustees, to put us in alignment also with Idaho code.
I just had a question about that one. Obviously, Ray, don't think about this because we know you had an acceptable excuse. For missing 4, I mean, how is that
It says
monitored?
without excuse.
Right, without excuse. but it's
Acceptable to the board.
Acceptable to the board.
To
That's what
us.
I'm asking, but, I mean, I've never been,
It's if we vote that it's not acceptable.
oh, I
But it's
see.
only
So
up
it's
to
not something
us.
that has to be voted as acceptable. We just have to assume
Right.
it's acceptable unless someone.
Unless
else
somebody
is
brings a
issued.
motion.
Okay, that's what I just.
Honestly, the way that it's been handled in the past is that if attendance has become an issue with a particular board member, the board has directed that we keep an attendance sheet.
Okay.
And then kind of
You do.
address that at each regular meeting, like, hey, but I do keep attendance, but I would put it into like kind of a formalized document if the board directs that we should start monitoring that more closely.
Okay,
What-
I just have never, we've never really made that a formal conversation.
It's been a long time
so,
since I've had to.
So on that subject, it wouldn't be here, but it would be somewhere. I think it'd be on meetings of the board. In the state policy, it says that, that like a Zoom is acceptable.
Right.
And did we add that on that board? I should have.
Zoom or phone or both?
Meeting use of
I don't think
proxy,
that
because we didn't add that, and I was wondering if we could add that. Because, yeah, we can't proxy vote,
Right.
but.
But if you can attend by Zoom or
But,
phone,
yeah,
that
I
still
was thinking we
counts.
should add that.
Okay,
on
and
the
if
meetings
it's
of the board.
not in policy, because I thought that
It was suggested on the ISBA policy, but I didn't see it added on
Added here.
to our
Okay.
policy.
All right, I'll review that, and if we need
Okay.
to add that, I can look at adding that, because
Yeah.
that has been our practice, that
Oh,
is
yeah,
an
yeah.
acceptable attendance.
Yeah, and it would be considered attendance.
Right.
What
yes.
number is this?
That would be 2201 or 2202.
So
Meeting.
I'll just write a
Organization
note
of
that we were
Governments.
gonna add that.
Yeah, 2201.
2201.
2101,
2101 or 2201?
2101.
2101.
21,
And then 2201 is the meetings of the board, so it would probably be in that one.
so 2201 is when we would add the
I think
Zoom.
so, yes.
Okay. Okay, so, the next one, just moving on, is, I have to get back to it, public participation, and this is also, it's a procedure that is not actually part of our policy. The one thing I would suggest that we add is some boards in Idaho still are not allowing public comment. And so, which is like, we wouldn't do that.
Right.
But I just thought, just to make it nice, maybe we should say the board welcomes public comment. Instead of welcomes, the board will
Allows.
accept public comment, or something
Like
like,
shall.
Shall.
And include maybe the
shall
Idaho
include
code
public
reference.
comment. Because how we do it.
Like per Idaho code, the board shall allow.
Yeah,
Okay.
shall allow.
Okay.
Yeah, just because, I don't know how they're getting away with that, but. And then the next one, are we on 3304?
Let's
Is the
see,
next-
yes.
Okay, 3304, and this is the parent guardian rights. Several things were added. And as far as, let's see.
It's the bulleted list regarding the parent guardian universal consent or acknowledgement primarily.
Okay. And then now, on that universal consent acknowledgement form, should we put some kind of a number or some identifying thing? Because I want it to be part of our board policy, not a procedure. I don't want that form to be able to be changed unless it comes to the board.
The only thing that I have issue with referencing the number, I mean, we could reference multiple. 'Cause that's-
Put the consent form right in here.
Yeah, and that one will be attached once it's approved. That will be attached underneath. It'll be that you know how at the bottom of our policies and board docs, you can view the cross-reference?
Oh, I
That
see,
will be
but so
right-
it will
right
be
in there.
part of our board documents?
Yes.
So it won't be something that can be changed without having it come to the board?
Right, and we could even just specifically direct that, because typically forms can be modified without
Okay.
specific approval, but we can have that one be that this won't be modified without board approval.
Oh, so, and then maybe add a sentence using
Mm-hmm.
the parent guardian form, and then maybe another sentence saying this form shall not be
Right.
modified without board approval?
Yeah, we could add that
Okay.
to it.
Since it's in accordance with the law?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is it the law that made it kindergarten, 6th grade, and 9th grade?
No, that was
just what
discussion
we-
yesterday.
Okay, sorry, I missed, yeah.
Because the form said it shall remain in effect indefinitely, basically. So they could sign it in kindergarten,
Right.
and it would go all the way till they're a senior.
Okay.
And that just did not seem like
So you're basically saying at the start of
that
each.
you need to
education.
revisit this.
No, I think that's good.
And at a minimum at those time periods.
And then available,
But it's available every year and say, if you need to change, need or want to change this, here it is.
Mhm.
But also, we wanted to request for the tech, for,
Yeah, how do you
I
implement that?
can't remember, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. He's in charge of technology.
oh, Kevin Chatfield.
No, that was just
Robert
hired
Robert
for,
Farnsley.
Robert
Robert Farnsley.
Farnsley. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't remember his name. But he, in our curriculum meeting, said,
This guru.
yeah. that's
Yes,
what-
he is,
Yeah,
but Kevin's the
because
coordinator.
he said about the STEM, he said, I could automate that. So it just gives you reports. So this currently, I know this is a little bit of an aside, but I'll be really quick. This is currently a Google Docs form, and it was brought to my attention after the meeting that it's very difficult for the registrars to have to go through every single page of every single Google Docs. And if he could make it automated so that it just generates a report to give to the registrar instead
Working
of.
on it. Sue said we're
Okay,
working on that.
okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Okay.
All right, it seemed like so much work
It's going to be that much work this year, but we're.
this year.
Yes.
Right,
it will
okay,
be.
thank you. Okay, sorry, okay, moving on.
Well, I've got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
Yes.
on the name pronoun requests on the form, it says, please contact the school administration to document preferences. So they check yes, and then they're calling, they're contacting you to see what pronouns are
Mhm.
acceptable.
Yes.
Okay. And so then that's good for the year. And,
Well, until they change it, because the parent has to change it. I
right,
mean, the
so-
parent has to approve it in writing,
right, so what I'm saying is, let's say,
change.
so that will be valid for that year, and they can fill this in every year, but if they don't, and then and someone requests a pronoun change, they've already agreed to it, how does that work?
Then it just stays in place until the parent requests that it not.
Okay, so then,
so maybe
then there's a
we should-
provision for the parent to be notified if,
Oh,
And that is,
okay.
that's in that policy. It says that parents will be notified annually and that they will be provided the form to update annually if they would like to, but it's required in kindergarten 6th and 9th. But they have the option to update it annually and they'll be provided
and-
with the form.
Yeah, if I read the policy correctly, it said that if a child wants to be called by a different name, oh, wait, I better pull. It says, per Idaho Code, district employees shall not address minors by a name other than the student's legal name or derivative thereof, or a preferred title, or a pronoun that is inconsistent with the student's sex without written permission from the student's parent guardian. So maybe on this form, as in reference to what you said, Ray, instead of contact the school administration, maybe we should say, you are required to specify, or something of that nature, because if I don't know, does it?
Well, how
does
about
it
this?
mean that they would have to notify them if there's a change? Or did
Well-
they just give a blanket consent that you can
I
call
think if
them?
the parent is going to click yes on the form, that they're going to contact the administration and find out what that they need to do to get that in place. But that
Okay,
waits.
Yeah.
and on an ongoing basis, they would have to be like through the administration communicated that if this changes,
Yes.
then you need to update your written permission.
And
Is
we
that
wanted
right?
that responsibility to be with the parent,
Yeah.
rather than us, if you check yes, that it's our responsibility to contact you. That's the discussion that we had.
Except
is
for
that the
that
parent
line.
would initiate it after checking yes, but there would be some follow-up,
Oh, I see.
yeah, by the
So-
administration.
So if the child decides that they want a different name in the middle of the year or whatever, you're saying you would contact the parent or?
No, the parent would be contacted.
Yeah.
The parent would be
Absolutely.
contacted,
Uh-huh.
and then they would need to update the form.
Yes.
Or they would need it, okay.
And do you think it's understood that if the child's name is Susan and they want to be called Sue,
It
that
says-
that
it
includes
says
it?
or
Derivatives
thereof.
are okay.
Yeah, they,
That's
Okay.
clarified in the policy and in the law.
right.
Yeah, in the law, it says that, or derivative thereof, or, yeah. It's pretty specific.
In the law, but I'm wondering, do you have to be more specific here?
It's
Oh, I see.
copied.
Oh,
It's in
derivative
here.
Well,
thereof.
he-
Sorry.
let me
It
run
says
let me
that yeah.
run a sentence by you and see if what people think about this. Right now, we've got it in green on 3304.
Form.
Okay, so in green, it says per Idaho code. How about, I just want to float this idea and see what people think about it. Instead of that line there, we could say accordingly, school district personnel should not use a name, pronoun, or title other than the student's legal name or derivative thereof that is inconsistent with the student's sex without first informing the parent/guardian and obtaining the written permission of the parent/guardian.
I'm okay with that. It's
So it just as informing.
It's basically the same thing, right? Just a little bit nuanced.
It just, well, it's what you basically stated,
Uh-huh.
only it's maybe a little more explicit in the policy. That's all I'm saying. I don't know.
Read it again, I wasn't.
Yeah,
following
sure, I'll
along.
read it again more slowly. So, again, we could keep the per Idaho code or whatever, but I'm saying accordingly, school district personnel should not use a name, pronoun, or title other than the student's legal name or derivative thereof that is inconsistent with the student's sex without first informing the parent/guardian and obtaining the written permission of the parent/guardian.
So you've just added
Informing, basically.
informing.
Yeah,
Well,
which is basically,
inconsistent with sex,
But
I
if you,
think you,
if you get permit, if you ask them for permission, you're gonna be informing them.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
basically the
yeah, it's the same. Well, what it does is as opposed to you're saying you would contact them, it just puts it officially in the policy.
I'm
in
okay
effect.
with that. I mean, I think it is kind of implied there that they would be,
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I-
That's why I'm just floating the idea. You know, you're saying it's implied, this is a little more explicit.
I'm fine with that because I think they would be being notified because in order to get the written permission, but I'm okay with adding that.
yeah. And depending on how you want to adopt it on first reading, or you could adopt it as it is, have more discussion as you get.
Why don't we do that?
Second reading. It's up to
But
you.
can we make that change for the?
That's what I'm
second
saying.
reading?
You
Is that
can,
what you're saying?
as you,
Can
I
we,
guess I don't understand the difference. I followed along other than adding an additional, oh, sorry. Read it one more time, Ray. Or actually, may I look at your paper? I can't, I don't understand. the
Oh,
Yeah, no, I will.
The word informing.
Yeah,
is the
and I would
biggest-
take out accordingly, and I would just say per Idaho code. I would leave that in,
Right?
per Idaho
So it says,
code.
district employees shall not address minors by name other than the student's legal name or derivative thereof, or a preferred title or pronoun that is inconsistent with the student's sex without written permission from the I mean, I think that's
so
just pretty
without
simple.
informing and obtaining,
Without,
Oh, I see.
without
With-
first informing the parent/guardian
without first informing.
and obtaining the
Which I
written
think
permission.
would be good to put there. It's what we do, it's what we're doing, right? It's
Well,
what-
yeah,
but I
I'm just
do
saying
think
that,
it is more,
well, it clears up the ambiguity of whether or not the student requests a change during the year or whatever. And the
Oh,
parent
to
has
update.
signed it at the start of the year.
Oh, yes.
And so
I see
you,
what
you said they would be informed.
Mhm.
And so all I'm saying is that if we write that into the policy, then it, it's not ambiguous. It's,
Without first informing and
But-
obtaining written.
But then if the
permission.
parents have already signed it, do you have to re-inform? Then you would have to inform them
If they
anyway.
change
it was a
if they
change.
change it, because some students do
Exactly.
change it on a weekly
Mhm.
basis.
Well, yeah, they do, and
Or more.
but if they already signed it the first year,
And in the policy and in the law and in the form, it would be, oh, you don't have permission to change this. Your parent needs to update the form. So that would be the informing the parent.
Right,
and
which is
updating the
Yeah.
basically
form.
what Ray is saying.
well, yeah, that, I
that.
mean, everybody's
I-
saying the same thing.
Yeah,
All I want to do is float the idea to make it more explicit in the 3304. And what I can do is, I'll send an email to Renee with this language.
I've got it. I can
You've got it?
include it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
If
you could
everybody's
just
okay
keep the
with
per
that.
Idaho code, but I'm just basically saying, instead where it says without written permission, starting there, I'm saying without first informing the parent/guardian and obtaining the written permission of the parent/guardian. Without-
I'm good with that. If there's
I
any,
mean,
is
I
there
guess
any
I'm
more
trying to
discussing?
think of a flip side. I mean, I guess there would be no case where the parent would not be informed before the written permission. I mean, are we creating more difficulty?
No,
You
it's
don't
not
think
the
so?
same thing, it's the same thing.
Okay.
It's
what we are-
it's the same thing, right?
I'm
I
just,
think it-
before we codify something, I just want to
But-
make sure we've thought about
Right,
it from.
and that's why I question,
But we
so
can
Superintendent
figure out
Howell
this in
and
the
Renee
meantime.
both say that's basically the policy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody thinks about it.
Whereas this is just
and-
more explicit as opposed to, we're gonna do it and,
Yeah. And if Renee adds it right now, we all have a chance to think about it, we change our mind, this isn't the policy, we have another reading.
Yes.
Thank you.
So moving on
so we're
to,
gonna do that?
Oh.
We haven't voted on any of
Oh.
them
No, yeah,
yet.
no.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean for the next reading.
Oh,
Right. For
if
the
that's
next
what
reading,
you all
if
agreed.
everybody
Yeah,
agrees
you
to it,
get
I
at
will have
least
that
three.
included
Yeah.
before the
Okay,
next
good,
meeting.
wonderful, super.
okay, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the contracts. It's the Idaho code that we can't restrict contacts, we can't use companies that boycott industries, like, it has the list.
This is 5104 we're looking at?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's boycotting of
We can't
certain
use,
types of goods.
yeah, we
Yeah,
can't, we
over
can't use
Fossil
companies that
fuels.
boycott, yeah, certain kinds of energy or goods that boycott anything.
Is Israel spelled?
wasn't the government of China on there too?
Right.
I think it is.
It was a copy and paste.
Isn't it a?
So this was all, as I read it, this was
It
all
is
about,
a- mine.
But that was
Oh.
a copy and paste, so I will
Okay,
say
I was like,
thank you for
what is
catching that.
Israel?
no, is Israel in here?
There.
Is Israel in
I
here?
was looking down there.
Is Israel in here?
Yeah,
is.
It
entities
is, where?
boycotting Israel, but
Yeah.
it's,
Well, that's state law though,
But I
right?
thought that the law said something like.
The state law says that, right?
Like the,
do
like,
they have it
Later on.
spelled wrong?
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes you wonder sometime, because,
Right?
Right.
but I mean, that's state law.
Specified industry.
And so we have to be in conformity with state law. Now, quite frankly, I mean, I could see where they're talking about boycotting specific industries.
Directly down.
Where does it mention Israel
Oh,
here?
there
And
you go.
then, so,
The
yeah,
very
Higher up, the
restrictions
first
on
paragraph.
contracts.
yeah, so, yeah.
Restrictions, entities boycotting Israel. My goodness gracious. Wow.
Well, wasn't there more than, wasn't China on there too?
Yeah.
Government of China?
Is China on there now?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and it's the law, so
Right.
we have to be in conformity with the law. So no matter how we might feel individually about boycotting nations or
I just
whatever.
want it spelled right.
And
Done.
All right. So the next one is curriculum, correct?
Uh-huh.
So down, if you scroll down, the education, if nobody else has any suggestions, I just have one. I mean, you can say your suggestions too, but on the, now I have to find it. So, okay, you guys,
61.
if there's any other suggestions, go ahead while I'm finding it.
I see that Renee did add the underlying principle. That's nice, thank you.
Okay. Oh, I was wondering about this prior to inviting any guest speaker or outside organization. It's right above the green highlighted.
Okay.
Teachers shall advise building administrator of the content and obtain prior approval. I think technically, according to law, the board is supposed to approve all curriculum. And so if it's of a sensitive nature, it says to the district curriculum committee, but that's not the board. And that's not the district.
I don't think that the outside organization guest speakers listed here are sensitive topics. This is just any
Well, it
outside
says
organization.
if it's of a sensitive topic.
Refer to the district curriculum committee. That is the route that it's gone before.
Right,
where the
right, but I
committee
think that
reviews
we would probably, anything of a sensitive nature,
Need-
if it has to do with sex ed, it can't be used. Right, so that's different then.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I see what you're saying, and that's just
Okay.
any guest speaker. If it falls into any of those categories of sensitive, then, yeah.
Okay,
And 2 board members are on that curriculum committee too. So if it was ever anything that felt like it needed to come to the board, then that could be
Okay.
discussed. But
okay, that sounds good. And the only other thing that I thought of is Amy brought our attention to no supplemental materials shall be used for sex education and instruction. I was just gonna suggest that is in a paragraph that doesn't really talk about such a sex education. So I was thinking that we should put that sentence in that health enhancement education in that paragraph.
I think that we could maybe duplicate it, but because
Oh, yeah.
this is talking about written or the taught curriculum, that I wanted it in that
Leave it
section. If
there.
they're looking at what they can and can't have in that taught curriculum that isn't in the written curriculum.
Okay.
But
Which number are we looking at now?
So I guess it would be under sex ed. Maybe a good place to add it would be
On page 3, Mr.
I've got it,
Okay.
yeah,
under
thank you.
the sex ed subheading. However, I guess after that sentence, however, it is recognized that this alone may not prevent, maybe say, therefore it allows, therefore the board allows for those things. And then before that, in all cases, the known facts will be taught, but right before that, or whenever you think it should be put in there, that same sentence.
okay,
Just because if there are rumors, if there are
Right.
anybody who questions our policy, it's right under that heading of sex education. I know it's somewhere else, but, if you're looking up sex education, it would be helpful if it was there too.
Okay.
So can I ask about the sentence where it says no education materials can be provided by abortion providers?
Yeah.
Is that
And
part
that's
of the
state law.
Yes.
Is that-
That's the law.
okay.
Yes, and I would even add abortion providers in any state. I don't know if there are organizations that don't provide abortions in Idaho, but do provide abortions in other states. I would want it to be none
I
of
would just
those.
think the organization as a whole, if they do at all,
Okay.
are excluded.
Okay, that's good. Because I know that's the state law, so. Which I'm grateful for that also. And then I don't think I had any other suggestions. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. And then I think also that this is also probably included somewhere else, that all of the sex education curriculum has to be approved by the board, by the curriculum adoption committee
Right.
and the board.
Adoptions,
And that's already,
yeah, in our textbook
in our,
adoption
okay,
policy.
okay. I just wanted to be sure that,
And the law.
anybody who has a question, they can find all of it right there. Okay, the next one is the media instructional material, selection and review. Is there anything that anybody would like? We added the district patron, which was actually already there, I guess. Oh, I guess we changed it to district, so they have to be in our district.
Right.
So not just any patron. Okay.
Yeah, good, good.
Anybody else have anything else on that one? Oh, gosh.
I will say, Heather, that the board did talk about the timeline for reconsideration.
I see that within 3 years.
And are you good with that? That
Yeah,
was kind
yeah,
of the
that's-
discussion.
Where's
We
that at
landed
here?
in the
We were
middle.
kind of going between
Right.
2 and 3 years. I suggested 2 just because the makeup of the board changes every 2 years. And I thought we don't want to assume that the next board is
I
going to
mean,
make
decline
the
to
same
consider a
decision.
request for
But
reconsideration.
Megan suggested 3 years.
I suggested
I'm
2, but maybe I got outvoted.
You suggested 2?
Yeah.
I did
Right.
too.
You did?
Landed with, I know, but that landed in the middle after the discussion. It was for right now, we'll leave it at 3.
So does the law stipulate
No.
time?
No, it does not.
No,
Just-
well, and our
Yeah.
current policy doesn't stipulate a
No.
time either.
It does not.
And so I floated the idea that maybe we don't have to even stipulate a time at all, but then people wanted a time limit, and so I thought 2, because every 2 years you have elections and you change
If you
the,
didn't, then you could have someone constantly bringing something back over
Right.
and over and
Exactly.
over
But
again.
they
Yeah.
can still say no, they can still say.
well, it goes to the
approve. They don't have to do any
Okay.
formal process or anything. They can just say it's denied. Because they can refer back to their notes if they just barely, I don't think it would require any more work for that, anybody, because you don't have to convene a committee or anything like that. They can just simply inform the parents, your request was denied. And they could reference the past, review that they already did, if they wanted to. There's nothing to say they have to do a formal review again. Because it was mentioned that then they have to read the book and all the
Right.
stuff. Why, they could just reference
right,
the
yeah.
previous review that they already
Sure,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the
So-
time period, 2 years, 3
Yeah,
years.
just so, I guess
Right.
so that the administration or librarians know, you don't have to re-review it.
Mhm.
If you have a review, keep your reviews.
Right.
And
We
then
just
you
need
can-
the time period, right.
Okay.
I think we all agree to the process.
But everybody wants a time period, is that it, or?
Yes, yeah, I think that's
I'm
right.
fine with 2 or 3 years.
I'd rather do 2.
I would be good with 2, just because the makeup of the board changes. but
And
it
then
doesn't
Jim
come-
said 3 and Megan said 3, so Ms.
So
Clark,
Heather,
you're
what did you want?
kind of.
2 or 3? It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
And it's first reading, again, just like all of these, so you have a month to think about it.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's not-
Reconsider.
I'll sleep on this one.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
All right.
but for first reading tonight, we're
Tonight,
okay with
First
3?
reading, 3 years is fine.
Okay,
We'll leave it.
all
Okay,
right.
sounds good. Okay, that is the last one. No, headlines.
Yeah,
Does
I was gonna
anybody
say,
wanna
wasn't there
talk
lights?
about that one? Does anybody want to talk about that one?
Uh-huh.
Okay, then the last one is public participation, and we just talked about, if a representative of a group wanted to represent everybody, we'd give them 10 minutes, and I think we kind of already had that as an informal process, or something similar to that. And then they just have to submit written comments if it exceeds that, and then, yeah. And it did change it to that you could only comment on items that are on the agenda. And that's as part of the Idaho Code as well.
So is it implied if somebody, for example, we had a case of that this evening, time expired and the person had another 10 seconds and they just finished up. I mean, if somebody says, well, I'm almost done, is it implied that we say, yeah, you can have another minute
Well-
or 30 seconds?
well,
I
or
appreciated that you stopped.
The Roberts rule, well, it's only to be fair to everybody.
No, I agree, but you're right. In previous times, sometimes we've let someone, so I did want to
Well,
let you know, I appreciated you just kind of.
If he would have said, I want to finish, I would have just said yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. If she would have said, can I just finish? Because last time it was the librarians, and she asked, can I just finish? But then she went on for,
Yeah, finish
while.
a sentence or 2 minutes.
and then we had to say,
Right.
okay, we had to then say, so that
Yeah.
one was different than tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was in my mind thinking of her, thinking we had to stop
Yeah.
because their presentation, they did they did a lot. Anyway,
And the way it's written here is that if they have more, then they could submit that in writing and the board would see the balance of what they left
Comments.
off.
yeah.
Well, I know that when the librarians came in, they had, they kind of, it was hard for them to say everything they wanted to say. Everybody was kind of like going over
And
3
all of
minutes.
them went over.
All of them went over 3 minutes, so I just,
It
I
was-
mean, I guess we
didn't-
have the leeway.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think it reverts to Robert's rules because the
Oh.
board chair can grant them
Okay,
if they want to, if they can finish what they were saying. That's what Robert's rules
that's better,
say,
that's a better
but
way
I
to do
don't
it.
know what we,
You can,
it
yeah.
doesn't really have any.
Let's leave it the way it
board
is, and you can revert to Robert's rules in an extraordinary circumstance
I-
or something, or
I
whatever.
think in general, it needs to stay this way.
Good, yeah, I'm
But
good
I
with
don't,
it.
it doesn't say what we do if they go over.
Oh, that's the part where they can provide the
Submit written.
additional written comment.
Yeah, I'm good with it the way it is.
Yeah, I guess we can just, but do you see what I'm saying though, when they're just literally almost finished?
Yeah.
You know, to just let them finish their thought or whatever. Do we need to say that in here?
No, that's kind of like Robert's
I-
rules, right?
I think you just stick with the Roberts rules and
Okay,
be able to allow tiny bit of flexibility, but I would say tiny is just that.
Right.
just finishing their thought or something.
Yeah, I think it's good as written, and if
Yeah.
Robert's rules of order are in there, then you've got your.
Say, wrap it up in 10
exigency. You've got your
seconds.
exception.
Yeah, because on the board principles, it does say we abide by Robert's rules.
Good.
Yes, it does.
And is
It's an
3
entirely
minutes, is that
different thing.
Robert's rules? 3
No.
minutes? No.
No, that's the board.
Completely our decision.
What the board sets in their
It
policy.
used to
Yep,
be
that's
5.
board policy.
Yeah, why did it?
We changed it.
Did we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there.
Okay. Great.
You were there. I was like, oh, do we really want to change it? But I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Then
whatever.
just keeps thoughts succinct and.
There you
yeah,
go.
And allows others the opportunity to speak as well.
Okay, one other thing, I guess I didn't read it. Is it in there that we don't make comment back?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
Idaho open meeting law.
Okay, because I think we need to be really
Reiterate it
careful
in
about
here
it, because I know we tried to do that before. And if we do that once, then we gotta do it.
Right,
Over
well,
and
and if
over
one
again.
board member says something, then another board member needs to also be able to, but then,
Right.
then
Came to the
suddenly we've
bathroom
all
thing, I
disobeyed
messed
the
up.
law.
But not just that, but if we
You gave me a yes.
respond to this person, if we respond to this person, then we gotta, then somebody else wants us to respond, then
No, you're
we
right.
can't say, well, we can't respond to you, you did the other one, so you can't.
Exactly, and
We need to
that's
be
what,
really careful, though. I know it's sometimes, and I understand it. Sometimes I want to say
It-
something, but we don't want
it is
to.
hard, it
We
is
don't
hard,
start.
but, that's the open meeting law.
Right.
So we can't, we could put it in here, we should probably put it in here.
It's already in there, isn't it?
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, but that's against, that's disobeying the law, that's not disobeying our policy. So,
Yeah, I mean, if somebody makes a mistake, we can just remind him or her that,
Yeah. right.
Kick them under the table.
there you go.
So on the, is everybody okay with moving to the last thing?
Isn't that in there?
Well, you've got action item on that one.
Oh,
yeah.
so we
On
need
all those
to-
policies.
now-
She
Now,
reads
I
the public
don't know
thing
why
and then
the
it-
parent
she-
guardian
if they don't-
consent
okay.
form is
I was
a
thinking when
different
I was on
action
the
item,
board- when I
because
was
that
board
should
chair, I
be
used to
part of
say
our
that.
board policy.
Yeah, and I think that's what
addendum.
Renee spoke to that earlier, and I'm not sure why she said it as a separate action item for the
'Cause I
parental
want to be
universal
clear that
consent.
this isn't a policy.
Because it wasn't a policy, that's why I did have it specifically
okay.
on its own, because typically we don't have the board approve forms, but we can
But
have
this
that.
is one that is in accordance with state law, so I think it does need to be. So can we just add that to these policies then, so that it will be in board policy?
So all we would have to do then is just pick the correct category, 2,000, 3,000, or whatever,
And
and create
put
a
this-
number for it.
Yeah.
Well,
the
yeah, I
consent
think
form.
that's what I would have to do, is just add a statement that, says that the form won't be modified without board approval.
Yeah.
But is Mr. Knopf saying, would we put that under parental rights?
It would be linked under the parental rights
Okay.
policy.
It's,
Does that
it's
answer your
where it
question?
says the form.
Yeah, no, that's a good place for it, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I was thinking, if you wanted to, you could, and I think your idea is better, is just create a whole new policy, which is the parental guardian universal consent acknowledgement form or something. But if you want to include it under 3304, that's fine, yeah.
It seems a little simpler.
Yeah, that would be simpler, yeah.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, we are gonna add this parent guardian under this discussion, right, before we do our action item?
If you want to go through and do all of the policies for first reading, I'm not sure if you want to do one at a time or where everybody was kind of good with it, if you want to just read the list and adopt it all at once.
I think we could just adopt
Yeah.
them all at once if
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
And then
okay.
the parent guardian universal consent form is a separate action item next, after policy.
Can I just move it to
If you'd
the
like
first
to, yeah.
action? Okay, I'll just do that, and that will be easier. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve. Is this a first reading?
So,
Yes.
yes, to
Okay,
hear the
because
policies on
it
first
probably-
reading.
Should be like,
That's kind of why I wanted to separate them out too, because we're not really hearing that form on first reading. We're just going to approve the form tonight. So we would hear policies on first reading
don't they need
and
the form?
Oh,
adopt.
we
We need,
need, that's
we need
why
the
we
form,
separated
yeah,
it.
we need
Yeah, the form needs to be
so
approved.
so
for the
we'll
school
approve
year.
it
Oh, thank you
separately.
for the
Good
reminder.
point. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
You
why
walked
we
up,
did
I
it.
was like,
Yes.
oh, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
we need that form for
And
tonight.
even though it is part of board policy, is it okay
Yes,
for us to not go through two readings?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Okay.
my question is, can you just add a statement in the policy that it's going to be attached to? Universal consent form cannot be
Yeah, that's what
amended
we-
without board policy.
Yeah,
or
that's
without
what we
board meeting.
decided. So the policy would have to be for second reading, but the form.
Right, well, we're gonna alter that one sentence in 3304 also. So, I mean, if we do a blanket, what we're agreeing to is that we're gonna make the changes, any changes we specified and move on to a second reading, or what? Or do we want to
To
separate?
include it in second reading in 3304, but adopt it tonight.
Mhm.
Yeah,
On
it's
first
it's
reading.
not adopting it. It's just, tonight, we're just
Sure,
taking
just
action to
approve.
hear the policy on first reading. And then if you want to put, with the additions to policy 3304.
Yeah, sure,
That
yeah,
works.
okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
all right.
One other thing that I completely forgot about is clear back on the board, meetings of the board, policy 2201 on order of business, regular meetings. This, I feel like it, any action item needs to be under our board business. And so, to me, I looked at the order of regular board meetings, and it doesn't really, I don't. see
So
a
this
place that we
policy
can
was
put it.
modified, I believe it was last February, to remove that action item order of business because you guys didn't like the flow of the meeting and wanted to take
Oh,
action as you
right.
go through
Oh,
the
yeah.
mean. So
Yeah,
that was
no.
removed. If you want to put it back, that would just be
No,
modifying that
no,
policy to
I'm-
put that back.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that.
Okay.
mean that. What I mean is if you look at the paragraph order of business, regular meetings, under public comment, which is in green, then let's go clear down to under awards. The awards and then reports, and then it says reports, curriculum, human resources, and business operations. But it doesn't have any place for board business like this. Like this would be, I
So
don't know what you.
This is all board business, the
So
whole
what
entire
would
meeting.
this- if
It's
this is our policy.
separated out by who is reporting on the board business.
Right, but where would that fall? Because it's not curriculum this is generated from
So-
the board.
Right, so generated from the board is, I'm directing my superintendent to do these things, bring this to me for the board. So that's why a lot of these catch-alls go to the superintendent's report, because they don't
Oh.
fall under those different directors, but directed to the superintendent to
Okay.
create
because
those
it
items
just-
for board
it just
business.
feels like it should be as part of like our meeting,
Right, but you're not going to have the board present to themselves. So it's, you just have that sectioned out by who's the one that is presenting, pretty much. And then all of that is your business, from
I guess we
curriculum.
kind of are presenting
business
to ourselves
operations.
because we agreed that, yes, we need to talk about this.
But you're
But-
working
Right.
through, this myriad of policies for sure.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
long as it's very clear to the public that, this is the policies that are being reviewed, so that if anybody has any,
Yeah.
because at first I didn't even see it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even look under that, because it's not usually where any, like, action items are, under superintendent's report. So when the
I don't know, I
very
feel like we have
first- the
superintendent
very first
action
time-
items quite frequently, but.
Oh, okay,
Um,
maybe it's just because
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
And also, I think
Oh.
typically because we only have one or two policies and we aren't doing like a mass revision where, this was necessitated by the, legislative session. But typically if it's like
Right.
an elementary
it would
education
go
policy, it
under
would go
that
under
one.
AJ's report or,
Right. Oh, that's
the
why I was so
appropriate
confused, because
director.
always before,
But where
it
this
was in
is,
that body,
right,
and that's why.
because they just fall under too many categories.
Primarily,
Before.
yeah.
Okay,
Whereas
I
these
get
are
it.
driven by state statute,
Yeah.
they're more or less coming through the superintendent to the board.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I just want to be sure that when you're looking at the agenda, it looks like understandable. Okay.
So before I make a motion then, I just want to get this right. Uh, I'm going to move that the board hear the following policies on first reading, not at this point, with the exception that we're going to modify 3304 and possibly 6405P because we haven't decided on 2 or 3 years. Is that it, or?
We would hear it on first reading with the 3, and then by second reading, you can have more discussion.
And so, okay,
Approve it with our changes.
right, with
What policies were?
well, we're going to have further discussion on 3304 and 6405P.
64.
Yeah, but then just for first reading for adoption.
Yeah, so adopt for first reading. So do I have to mention that we're gonna have modifications on the other two, or?
I think that would be good. Is that, are those?
I
the
wasn't
other two?
planning to modify the 6405 after tonight's meeting for second reading. Leave it as is, get your public comment, get your input, and then if you decide to make changes, we can do that for second reading.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so then we'll just say modify 3304. Okay, are we ready for that? I can make the motion then.
Yes, I would.
Okay. I hereby move that the board hear the following policies on first reading as presented, with the exception of policy 3304, which will be modified for the next reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion.
That was in favor. She was too fast.
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I love it.
The parent guardian universal consent acknowledged form, I would entertain a motion to approve the parent guardian universal consent acknowledgement form as presented. Is there a motion?
I second the motion. Oh, you want the motion?
You can do the
Okay.
motion on.
I thought you just did it. I hereby move that the board approve the parent guardian universal consent / acknowledgement form as presented.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passed.
Okay, one last item for me, Madam Chair. And that is to annual request that we bring to the board for replica weapons to be on school district property for the use of Veterans Day assemblies, track and field, drama presentations, and Mountain Men assemblies usually associated with the 4th grade Idaho History Unit.
I would entertain
Yep, that's it.
I would
Okay.
entertain a motion to allow weapons or replicas on student property on school property for Veterans Day activities, starter guns at track meets, props for drama presentations, and replicas for Mountain Man assemblies. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the annual request to allow weapons and replicas on school property as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. If there's no other discussion, then, okay, that concludes this meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I hereby move that the board adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? This motion passed.